boogity. Let's go racing, cowboys.
Let's go racing, boys. NASCAR racing, boys. Oh, yeah.
Casey Kane wins the Samsung Radio Shack 500.
Awesome job tonight, Casey. Awesome job, man.
Jeff Burton, the first repeat winner in Texas.
Love it when it's four wide. Love it when it's fast. Love it when the leaders pop and he's moving fast. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing. Honda.
Is it Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s time? It's been 68 races since his last win, but today the driver of the 88 on the pole here at the Texas Motor Speedway, the Great American Speedway. More than 180,000 fans on a warm, sunny, bright blue Texas day. And it's NASCAR on Fox as we're counting you down to the start of the race. The Hollywood Hotel, where trackside, it's where America gathers every weekend for racing. And just below the Hollywood Hotel at Jeff Hammond's cutaway car.
Yeah, well, welcome, guys.
With Darrell Waltrip, Jeff
Outside,
Hammond.
nice Sunday.
Chris Myers. He's the last guy that needs more of a suntan, but it's okay to be out here for specific reasons. And, you know, Darrell, this track is one of the fastest. They go the fastest. It brings a lot for a driver, a lot of an additional excitement.
Well, you know, drivers, they like the speed. They like the danger, but they don't like living on the edge. And sometimes when you step over that edge, you got to have somebody watching out for your safety. And that's where NASCAR has done such a great job with this new car.
Before we talk about that, let's go back to Friday. What happened in the practice session, the 00 car. Michael McDowell, he's racing in the race today, and this is what happened. It was amazing. He's only been in one Sprint Cup race prior to today, and 30 minutes he walked away from this crash with just bumps and bruises. You've seen it. Now let's listen to how it sounded for him. Amazing that the 23-year-old driver was able to step away and will be racing today, starting from row 20 in the 00 car. And before we have you two talk about safety, Matt Yoakum is standing by with Michael McDowell.
Chris, Michael McDowell's scary crash has been viewed by over 1 million people on the internet. You experienced it live. What's your reaction after watching it back, Michael?
I'm just extremely thankful to be standing here and being able to race today, and just thank NASCAR for everything they've done with the new car, and all the people that put into the safety initiative, and all the guys back at the shop that tighten the bolts and make sure the seats are in right. It's still people that make this all go around, and just want to thank everybody, Aaron's Dream Machine and 00 guys. They had to work hard that night, but I'm thankful to be here racing.
Confidence high?
I feel good. Happy hour was fine. I got back in there and kind of jumped back on the horse, per se. But today's gonna be a long day. I'm gonna do everything I can to keep this thing in the top 25, and really important to keep the points up.
And Chris, next week he's gonna find himself in an F-16 fighter.
All right, thanks very much. He does not seem rattled, eerily similar to Dale Earnhardt, what happened when he lost his life at Daytona. But how does a guy, Darrell, survive a crash like that? America's talking about it. They want to know.
Well, Chris, out of something bad, so many times something good comes, and that's what some of the crashes that we've seen over the last 8 years have produced. This new car, we call it the COT, the car of the day, or the new car. One of the biggest things, this area right here, folks, this bar that goes around here like this, that's called the halo bar. This right here, the driver sits here. Used to, this bar was in 2 inches closer, and the seat was out 2 inches further. So the driver, on the driver's side impact, what we saw Michael McDowell go through, his head would flop out there sometime and hit the safer barrier even. So NASCAR moved the seat over 2 inches. They made this bar go out further. They moved the frame rail out further. These big headrests keeps your head in place so your head's not flopping all over the place. Back in the day, we just had a little old bucket seat and a pair of little old 2-inch seat belts. But now, today, safety has come so far. We had a little open face helmet with a pair of bubble goggles.
You mean like this?
A lot like that. But Jeff, now look what we got.
Oh, and we got this new head and neck restraint. Again, you see here how the head is actually tethered to the shoulders. Again, that accident the other day, Michael would not be able to walk away if you hadn't been with the head and neck restraint. And don't forget, you mentioned a minute ago, the safer barriers. They absorb so much energy, but this car itself, folks, that's what it's designed to do. Absorb energy before it gets back to the cockpit and to the driver.
So we have safer barriers, we have the Hans device, the new car, and we saw Michael McDowell, Darrell. He seemed okay, but you in 1991, fans will remember, at Daytona had something that was similar. Your mind, how does it affect you when we see him get in the race car, when he actually starts driving today?
You're stunned. I mean, you really are. When he made that initial impact into the safer barrier, from there until that car stopped bouncing and rolling, he probably doesn't remember a thing about that. It's the beginning and the end is all you really remember.
And we know he was going up to 200 miles per hour into the corner. We don't know, estimating 165, 170 miles. Amazing that he could walk away. And not just a lucky survival. As you explained, any driver with this kind of equipment could survive.
Thank NASCAR for that.
All right, we'll see how Michael McDowell does today. He's going up against some great competition. Here's what's around the turn. We'll get back inside the Hollywood Hotel to get you ready for the start of today's race. And as we talk tires and ice, we'll talk Clint Bowyer and Jeff Hammond as they teamed up to wrangle and drive some monster trucks. Jimmy Johnson, who's a star in NASCAR, met up with a Dallas star, Mike Modano. We'll tell you how that turned out. Buzzer beaters, big threes, Cinderella stories, unforgettable. You'll hear drivers on the hit list talk about their greatest moment in sports, and Bill Murray on Gopher Can and what he thinks of Digger. And in the pit zone, we'll tell you how Car stores information.
Hey, y'all want to know about the black box?
Plus, Gas and Go, it's No Bull with Jeff and DW. And Dick Berggren starring in The Good, the Bad, and the Ancient.
You got to respect Jeff Burton.
31, the bright orange car.
Quite a run for this 31 car.
Jeff Burton, the points leader, won this race last year, the only two-time winner at Texas. After 6 races, Harvick had never been as high as second. Kyle Busch from the top spot to 5th in just 1 week. And last week's winner, Denny Hamlin, moving up 7 spots to 8th place. We are back inside the Hollywood Hotel.
Yeah,
nice hat. Glad that you're, and he's styling for Texas.
Right.
Hey, you're actually a legitimate rodeo guy, or you have a card.
I'm not a rodeo
He's
clown.
the guy in the barrel.
Okay, I am a.
You ever see that guy in the barrel?
Yeah,
he's the guy in the barrel.
Rodeo
the rodeo
clown.
clown. All right, let's talk about guys today on the race today. We're going to talk with Junior in a moment. Tony Stewart, he's won here before. His team has done well. Could this be his day?
It could be, but this race is a thinking man's race. Right. It's at 500 miles, man. It's about 4 hours, so you're going to have to really conserve a little bit. So
Are you trying to say Tony Stewart can't think? I mean, that's kind of scary. You're going to smoke.
Matt Kenseth is a thinking driver right there. Got a good crew chief right there. So again, I think anybody driving a Roush car today has got to be considered a factor.
It could come down to a real battle between Burton and Kenseth again.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Jeff would have to come from back of the pack. All right. Driver of the 07 car, Clint Bowyer. His mind may be on Texas. His heart is with Kansas. His home state, Jayhawks, in college basketball's championship game tomorrow night against Memphis. Today, he tries to overcome a monstrous challenge here. You know, he grew up racing dirt bikes and motocross. Recently, he spent some time with Jeff Hammond driving a monster truck.
Yes, folks, that's what we're getting ready to do. We're going to sneak up on these cars and then jump over them. This could be a career-ending move. Maybe not for him. Maybe for me. All right. My turn. Yeah. Come on, Clint, show me something. Come on, buddy. Get in the gas. I'm telling you what, that was crazy. The main thing, my friend, I want to make sure you have a monster race come Sunday, okay? That's what it's all about.
Clint Bowyer ready to roll today. Darrell, that thing was pushing like a dump truck. Do I have that right?
Hey, you've been listening.
I hear him say that. I don't know what it means exactly, but
there's no thing.
Yes, but if that happens on the track today, somebody will be in trouble, right?
Oh yeah, no. And did you have fun doing that?
Yeah. I actually did, Darrell. I could not believe the power of that bad boy and the fact that I could tear up something and get by with it.
Oh yeah, that's you.
Usually he tears up the show. When you have a question for Jeff or Darrell, you can go to I Kid Because I Care. FoxSports.com. Ask the the Pros, built by Home Depot. And Tony Stewart joining Daryl, Larry, and Jeff. Hey, you ask questions, and they'll give you the answers. And that's Ask the Pros at foxsports.com. We thank the folks at Home Depot for helping us out. Jeff Gordon, this is one of 2 tracks he has not won on. Homestead the other. He'll start from row 9, ready to roll today. We talked about Tony Stewart. He's moved up from 11th to 6th in points in the last 3 races. And we'll talk with Dale Earnhardt Jr. when we continue. It's NASCAR on Fox. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Sunoco. From NASCAR to your car, Sunoco, it's what's inside. By the Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse. And by McDonald's, score something good for breakfast. Try the new McSkillet Burrito, only at McDonald's.
Download. Oh!
Kyle just got into Junior.
Kyle apparently had left the racetrack.
So I just went back to my motorhome and headed to the airport.
The 5 car is back on track. The driver is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I did it because it's fun. Driving somebody else's car, it's kind of neat. I was surprised they created such a story, but everybody's got to put their spin on it.
When Kyle Busch left the track and Dale Jr. had to finish up at the Texas race last year, it set the wheel of fortune in motion, a foreshadowing of things to come. Jr. later taking a spot at Hendrick, and of course Jr. has fond memories of this track in Texas, won both his first Cup and Nationwide race series here, and has fans everywhere. On Friday in the 88 car, 190 miles per hour, he took the pole, and he's with our Dick Berggren.
Well, it's been almost 2 years since Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won a race, but he has been ever so fast in 2008. His last 4 starts, he has finished 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th. You got a pretty good starting spot today. You going to win this thing?
I'd like to think we can, but I got a good car. We've had a good car all weekend. We qualified well. The car race and race trim pretty good, and it's been this recurring theme every week. So we just try to get up there and stay up there the whole day. We got a great pit stall, so we got a good chance today.
Who's the toughest competition today, Junior?
Ourselves. Just we got to be able to adjust on the car and help the car as the track changes. It changes quite a bit from the start to the finish of the race, and I'm sure there'll be some strong competition from the other drivers and all. But if we can do what we need to do, we got the car that can do it.
Well, America's most popular driver starts on the pole of the Great American Speedway today.
And we love the hat, Dick.
Yeah.
Great.
Did you see Junior? He couldn't even look at Dick. He had to keep looking away.
That's Dr. Dirt. He's so old that he broke into the business when the Beatles arrived, not the band, the insect. That's how, from Speedway Illustrated, Dick Berggren. All right, hey, what about the communication between Uri Jr. and Dale Earnhardt Jr.? They know each other as well as anybody, but it seems like they've had some issues.
Well, we heard him last week, Dale Jr. last week tell Tony, "You're killing me, man." He was waiting too long to tell him when to pit, but Hammond, that ain't nothing like what you and I used to do, is it?
I'm getting ready to say, what are you talking about here, guys? I mean, this guy and me, we used to get into some really knockdown dragouts, but hey, they're family, and they'll work it out. And sometimes you've got to have that little bit of
fire
right. Between the two to make it work.
All right, and they want each other. All right, time for NASCAR News and Notes, headlined by Chip Ganassi, ripping his own team for not providing his driver, Dario Franchitti, with a better car. The 40 team did not qualify for today's race. Elsewhere, Richard Childress Racing is going to field a 4th car next year. His 33 car will be sponsored by General Mills, a move that leaves Petty Enterprises not so cheerio. Petty will be looking for a sponsor in 2009, and will Bobby Labonte remain? Meanwhile, Chad McCumbee replacing Kyle Petty in the 45 for Petty Racing, but they failed to qualify for today's race. And this morning, NASCAR Foundation hosting a walk around Texas Motor Speedway for charity. Bobby and Terry Labonte helping out. Some of the proceeds going to fight autism. You can help by going to autismspeaks.org. At our favorite time for Gas and Go. We ask questions. They have answers. They're on the clock. No one knows the contents of these questions.
Lap here.
Run the clock. All right, Daryl. We're not going to ask you about. I'm not going to ask you about DEI. What's the future of Kyle Petty and Petty Enterprises?
There's some problems there, and they got. I don't know. Kyle, I heard him. He said he would take another ride on another team if somebody offered him one. So
okay, not
there's
good.
some real issues right there.
All right, Jeff, quickly on that.
Not good, like Darrell said. There needs to be some changes.
All right, how about, we're moving on to the next question. How will the fourth team help Childress?
Information, Chris. You can never get enough information and resources. That's what a fourth team brings. It'll be a good thing for RCR.
All right, Roush Fenway, Darrell, they dominate this track. Carl Edwards, fastest in practice, right? The last couple, the 99 car starting up on the front row. Is he the guy of the beat today?
Oh, I think he definitely is. I mean, if you look at the performance on the mile and a half, right now he's the king of the mile and a half. But I got to tell you, Junior is right there after him, and so will Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch and Carl will have a real race today if they don't use up their stuff. I'd pick Carl.
All right, 5 wins for Roush Fenway Racing here at Texas. Jeff, speaking of Roush, last week Matt Kenseth, black flag, that little payback. Right. Is he good at finding trouble, or is it just bad luck?
No, I don't think it's either one. I think it's a little bit of old school racing. He's the kind of guy, you run into me, I'm going to run back into you. He's not afraid to mix it up with somebody if he feels like he's been done wrong. I mean, a little bit of a touch of Dale Earnhardt, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, it all balances out. Can Kyle Busch, DW, bounce back today? Last 2 finishes, not so good after we were singing his praise.
Careful.
Well, no, I mean, I'm a big fan. The kid puts on a show every time he goes on the racetrack. Today is a long race, 500 miles. He's got to pace himself. He was really good at Atlanta. I think the race could really be between he and Carl and Dale Jr. I think those 3 guys, one of those 3 guys will win
you just
this
keep
race.
adding to him. Just because the guy won the nationwide race yesterday, you're just going to add to the list?
He's got
Anybody
big
else you want to add? You know,
He's
Tony
got
Stewart?
motivation. You pick one.
I like his hat, too.
Yeah. All right, there you go. That's why you like him. All right, Jeff, Toyota having a much better year. Notice how we didn't ask you the Toyota
thank
question.
you very much.
Is it because of Joe Gibbs? In other words, would they have 2 wins if Gibbs wasn't in Toyota?
Yes.
Really? So
I think
the overall program?
The overall program was put over the top because of Joe Gibbs. They bring winning tradition to Toyota, and they made it happen.
They got experience. They got all that experience.
All right, he's a coach. He wins. Atlanta, a lot of talk about tires. Texas, not so much, but could we have problems today there?
No, I found out. Went to Goodyear. I heard a lot of stories going on about the tires. Thought there was going to be a problem, but right now, folks, no. Unless the teams mess up, we should not have any tire issues today.
As long as the teams don't do anything to hurt the tires will be fine.
All right, and who makes a better fake cowboy, Darrell? We want your expertise on this. Jeff Hammond or Dick Berggren? You've seen the cowboy hats. Well, there's a better look. Oh, my God.
You got to admit that Woody on the right there, I'm not sure if he would be a real good. I wouldn't trust him if he had a gun. And the guy on the left, he looks like he'd pick your pocket to me.
All I got to say, boys, would y'all say anything to John Wayne about the way he wears his hat?
You ain't John Wayne, dude.
I know I'm not, but I sure would like to be.
Well, okay, Pilgrim, let's move along. We invited you to play AT&T's Fantasy Racing Challenge. You can text in the car number you think will win at 2258. Play all season long, and you could win $31,000, other great prizes, but no Jeff Hammond hat. Sam Hornish Jr.
Why not?
Won here at Texas because you're wearing it. That's why.
I'll donate it.
In the IndyCar series. But how will he do against some of these guys? This is NASCAR on Fox, and we're glad you're with us from Texas. Welcome back to the Great American Speedway here in Texas. Jimmy Johnson, 2-time Cup star, recently met from the Dallas Stars hockey team, Mike Modano.
Try it out and see what feels comfortable. I think that feels right. There you go.
Seems like a great guy. I was glad to get to know him.
I love going to hockey games when I have the chance to, and certainly respect what these guys do on the field. On the field, on the ice. I said on the field.
There you go. Hey. He did okay on the ice today. He was all right.
Getting the hang of it already.
Oh. He didn't want to fall. That was his main goal.
Technically didn't fall.
Didn't know too much about Jimmy prior to today, so I was eager to watch him and cheer him on.
I think I should stick to my day job, though, to be honest with you.
Well, you know, drivers like to skate on thin ice.
Yes, you've been there.
Yeah,
you'll never see this guy on ice skates. I can promise you that.
I'm bow-legged, and they keep digging in. I can't get no traction.
We won't look. They put Jimmy Johnson had him put a restrictor plate on the Zamboni.
I can't get no traction.
That was it. All right, in this week's edition of the AutoZone Pit Zone, as racing gets more and more technically sophisticated, I get more confused. All right. Jeff and Darrell zero in on the black box that all the cars carry, and the key there is to live and to learn.
Well, me and old Black Bart, we're here at the AutoZone Pit Zone. And you know, folks, back in the day when there was a wreck like Michael McDowell had a couple of days ago, well, Jeff would take the car home and we'd all get around, look at it and say, wow, that looked like it was pretty serious.
That hurt.
Wow, that looked like it might have hurt.
Yep.
Well, now we can take all the guesswork out of it. With the new technology that we have, NASCAR's installed this little black box inside the race car. Sits right in here beside the driver. Let me show you where it goes. Sits right on this bracket right here. beside the driver. That gives us all the data we need about how fast the car was going, what happened to the car, what happened to the driver, all in an effort to continue to improve these cars and make the driver safer, make the cars safer. It's a huge process. Safety's a moving target, but we got to stay on top of it. Don't ever get comfortable with where we are because, Jeff, as you know, things are always changing.
Always changing. And one other thing, Darrell, the car that was wrecked a couple days ago by Michael McDowell, it'll be taken back to North Carolina and studied. That's right, broken down, analyzed so they can improve on safety. That's one thing NASCAR is working every day to improve on, is making sure these drivers are able to walk away like we saw Michael McDowell do just a couple of days ago.
Nice work as always. Is there a next area for better safety, even more so?
I think maybe one of the areas we need to start looking more into, maybe some more on pit road. I mean, because a lot of the guys are out there, still running around in traffic in 35 mile an hour. I mean, you could get hurt.
Yeah, we got our arms around the car and the driver compartment and all that. We got our arms around that pretty well right now. Like I said, I don't ever want to get comfortable with it. I don't ever want to say we're there, but we're certainly in the best shape we've been in since I've been in racing.
And the safer barriers, obviously, they had to
safer barriers right there. The one that was damaged the other day during the course of that qualifying session had to be replaced, but NASCAR realized that it got compromised. You can see the tire marks leading up to the safer barrier, but that safer barrier, Darrell, you know it made a huge difference in Michael McDowell being able to walk away from that wreck.
Absorbed a bunch of energy.
It did.
Have fun today calling the race with Larry.
Gonna be a wild one. Gonna be nice.
And Mike up at the booth.
The voice is strong, right?
Oh yeah,
safe.
I'm good to go.
Right.
I'm loaded, cocked, locked, ready to rock.
Jeff and I will be watching, and I know we've been we haven't been so subtle, but there's been a lot of buzz about the Gopher Cam that you all named Digger, and you can get your own Digger t-shirt by going to foxsports.com or dwstore.com. Gopher Cam has become so big that it threw Bill Murray into a Caddyshack Carl Spackler moment. And we're glad you're with us from the Great American Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. The Samsung 500, more than 180,000 fans of all ages, all sizes, and anxious to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. from the pole with Carl Edwards alongside. They'll go racing around this track, and let's take you down for opening ceremonies trackside.
And now, Texas fans, please remove your hats and rise as America's finest first-team color guard. The 1st Cavalry Division out of Fort Hood, Texas, presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Dr. Marsh from Texas Alliance Raceway Ministries offers today's invocation.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year Motor Racing Outreach celebrates 20 years of Christian ministry to the NASCAR community. Last Sunday afternoon, Max Helton, founder of Motor Racing Outreach, good and faithful servant of the Lord Jesus Christ, went to be with the Lord. Let's remember him in a moment of silence. And now, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this gorgeous day, and we pray that you would watch over and protect all the competitors. Thank you for the great crowd, the sponsors, and everyone involved. We give you the praise for today's race. In Jesus' name, amen.
And now, please welcome the 36th Infantry Division Band, Texas Army National Guard from Austin, as they perform our national anthem.
They'll be going as fast as a marquee jet, over 190 miles an hour. All the drivers anxious to roll, especially 23-year-old rookie Michael McDowell, who survived that Friday crash. Elliott Sadler says his back is feeling fine. He's moving okay, getting ready to roll here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Jeff Burton starts 35th today, and the worst position by a Texas winner, 31st, Matt Kenseth. Following next week's trek to Phoenix Saturday night, you hope you'll be with us to watch the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in Talladega. Toby Lightman will be performing live. NASCAR Love, among other hits. You can get tickets too. Call 877, go to Dega, or log on to TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. In our weekly installment of the Hit List, we ask drivers to comment on subjects in and away from the track. You know, they all love racing. We see their passion for it, but they have moments in other sports they enjoy holding on to as well. Can you name the greatest sports moment, not racing related?
I grew up a North Carolina basketball fan. I remember 1982, 17 seconds left. Michael Jordan hits a shot against Georgetown to win the national championship. We won it 63-62. As a 7-year-old kid, that time has really stood still in my mind.
I was at the 42nd Super Bowl. I was sitting right where the winning touchdown was thrown, and I was secretly hoping that the Giants would win just because I was sitting amongst a lot of New England Patriot fans.
The 2 years of the Denver Broncos being able to win the championship, 98, 99.
Those are your guys,
yeah,
right?
With John Elway and Terrell Davis and those guys and Rod Smith, so pretty cool stuff.
You know, one thing that kind of sticks out is watching the Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield fight and biting the ear off. I was just thinking, what was that guy thinking?
I think I know the answer to this one.
You think you know this?
Yeah, because I know
What do you
you're.
think it is?
Well, I was going to guess the Colts. I know you're a Colt Redskin guy when they finally won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. I would say definitely it was watching the Colts win the Super Bowl for sure, because that's something that was a long time coming in Indianapolis.
Hey, Jeff Hammond, as we got to look at Tony Stewart, a choice today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the pole, but he's never won a race from the pole.
Never won a race from the pole, and besides that, when you think about Texas, believe it or not, there's only been one winner from the pole, and that was Casey Kane. So being up front is not necessarily good.
Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Toyota, all four manufacturers in the top 4 spots, but this is a long race, engine wear and tear, toughest test.
Yeah, we haven't talked a lot about that, but high speed, sustained RPM, Toyota is going to be really put to test today. I really believe that. And we'll be watching closely throughout the race. Again, a warm, sunny day. It's time for those famous words, gentlemen, print your boarding passes. No, that's kind of a joke with us, but here's what they like to say when they're on the track. You know how that goes.
And now, Texas fans, please welcome your Grand Marshal and Samsung Lucky consumer, Kiri Rogers, as she delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Always a special race in the great state of Texas and the Great American Speedway. Mike, Larry, Darrell will call the action for you. It's NASCAR on Fox.
Here's the moment they've been waiting for. Woo, woo, baby. Oh. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. I like it. Things are heating up. We got battles all over the place. New sheriff in town.
Classic Texas finish here.
From the heart of Texas, 500 miles of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing on Fox. Look at the packed infield, parking lots, grandstand, even the roads leading in. Still have a lot of traffic as we get ready to race here in Texas. Hi, everybody. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip with you for what we think will be a very interesting race. 3 powerhouse teams square off here at the OK Corral. All right, enough of those Texas analogies, Larry. Yesterday, Kyle Busch did something we thought might be a little strange. 7 laps to go, caution comes out. Do you pit? Do you not? You're leading the race. He stayed out. And a lot of folks thought, oh, no, you need fresh tires if you're going to win this. He didn't. And he did. He won.
Yeah, and that was in the Nationwide Series race. And I was very relieved and glad I was sitting in my hotel room and I was not one of the guys having to make that decision. But like Darrell and I were talking, there's almost not a right and a wrong answer. But the guy on the pit box, he's the only one that has all that information. Now, it's hot today. This track has lost some grip. I think if you get up to that point of 10 or 15 to go, yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. You want 4 tires. But we know how important track position is. That where it becomes a chess match in the final 10 to 15 15 laps of this race.
Darrell, how about driver focus and fatigue? It's going to be pretty warm out there today.
Well, it really is, and I'm sure most of these drivers, particularly the ones that raced yesterday, they've been kind of hydrating themselves over the night. That's a big problem that you have in these hotter races, and particularly long race like this. This 500 miles take about 4 hours, so those NACA ducts that you had taped up to give the car a little bit better aerodynamics, pull that off because you want all that air coming in the car. That cool box that you've been practicing out, turn that on because you want to keep that head cool, and that's going to be the key to the success today, keeping that head cool.
All right. 500 miles here in Texas in the Samsung 500. Let's have a look at the starting lineup. With Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the pole, his first pole in 22 races, not since Pocono last year in June. Eddie won a pole, and he shares the front row with Carl Edwards.
Hey, Carl Edwards, it's a DW in the Fox booth. Buddy, got a copy.
Loud and clear, DW.
All right, my man, this is your house. This is Roush's house. You've been the man to beat on these mile and a halves. What's the story today?
As long as we don't shoot ourselves in the feet here, we're going to be all right. This car is fast, man. It was really good yesterday. It looked like Dale was pretty fast in practice and a couple of those guys, but I'm telling you, this is a fast race car.
Buddy, what's that you got on your hood up there? It looks like a duck.
Yeah, you can't see it, but I got one in here in case I get tired. He's going to help me out today.
Well, you know, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it'll probably go to Victory Circle. What do you think about that?
I hope so, but don't try to butter me up. I heard you picked Dale Jr. already, so I'm going to have to prove you wrong here today.
Just between me and you, buddy, that's for TV. I'm on your side, man. Stand on it and take it to Victory Circle.
Hey, thanks a lot. Have a good broadcast and talk to me anytime you want today.
10-4.
Make it a great race day with the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Just turn left and enjoy Budweiser, the great American lager. We've talked a bit about him, Larry, but how about the keys to today's race?
And I tell you, with this mile-and-a-half racetrack as fast as they're running, there's several keys, but these are the ones we felt more important. Keep the car turning. You can't have it loose. You're going to be going off into turn one about 195 miles per hour, but that car has to keep turning for 500 miles through the middle of the corner. Beware of turn two. 24 degrees of banking in the corner, and then it flattens out. We see so many cars get in trouble, they just run out of racetrack the late exit of turn two. And find your groove. You know what? You can move it around here. You can run at the bottom. You can run at the top. I think we'll see a lot of cars somewhat around the bottom in 1 and 2 and up near the wall in 3 and 4. Wherever your car drives the best, that's the groove you want to find.
All right, let's get late word from our Fox NASCAR on Fox All-Star Pit Crew, beginning with yesterday's winner, Steve Burns.
Yeah, Mike, as you mentioned, Kyle Busch won the race here, but more to the point, he won the Sprint Cup race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, another mile and a half. He's driving that very same car in which he led 173 laps, but as crew chief says, I think we all may be trying to chase that 99, Krista.
Well, Steve, you heard Chris Myers talk to drivers about their favorite sports moments. If you're a sports fan, Texas is the place to be. Tony Stewart gave me the breakdown. Dallas Stars, they're in the playoffs. Dallas Mavericks trying to make it. Supercross was in town. But these are NASCAR's Cowboys, steel horses. That's what they're riding at the Great American Speedway. The rodeo is about to begin. Dick.
Watch Matt Kenseth today in car number 17. Last year, he ran both of NASCAR's top series here. He finished first, second, and fifth. If he can get the push out of the car, he'll be up front. Matt Yoakum.
Dick, Jimmy Johnson will roll off from the 5th position today, and he's hoping to use the Texas Motor Speedway like he did last fall as a springboard onto greater things, another championship. But this year, one thing that Jimmy's been chasing is that feel that he had in the race car all of last year on that great points run. They feel like this is the best car that they've had all year. The feel he's looking for is back. We'll just have to see if it ends up that way at the end of the day in Victory Lane, Mike.
You know, Mike, Carl was kidding me about picking Dale Jr., and I do pick Dale Jr. to win today, but I like what he said in his interview, and I think this is on their minds, he and Tony Jr. Who's your biggest competition today? Ourselves.
Yes.
They don't want to beat themselves. Got to make some good calls today.
Junior on the pole, Tony Jr. top his pit box, but Carl Edwards, why is he the favorite? 1 win, 6 top 5s in the last 10 races on these what we call cookie cutter mile-and-a-half racetracks.
There you see 334 laps, as Daryl's been talking about, 500 miles, pit road speed, 45 miles per hour. The pit window for Sunoco race fuel, 52 to 56 laps. You see the cars going to the rear, Michael McDowell going to a backup car, of course, and David Ruderman, Mike Skinner, engine changes. And those guys actually qualified fairly well in those 2 Toyotas.
Last year there were 3 of those Camrys in the race. Today there are 10 as Toyota's presence in Cup racing expands. Corvette safety car headed around for the last time. It'll make the left turn onto pit road and we'll go racing. Most folks expect a battle between Hendrick Motorsports, Roush Fenway Racing, and Joe Gibbs Racing. A Chevy Ford Toyota battle, but there are always surprises and sleepers here in Texas.
Well, DW, we got the best weather we've had since we left Daytona about 2 months ago. So you know what, buddy? She's fast, she's mean. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
All right, here they go. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes in here 4th in the points. He'll add to that point tally. He will lead lap 1, 5 bonus points for leading a lap.
Yeah, this isn't practice and this isn't qualifying. This is racing right here. And they are on it.
Right on the break. Hendrick, Roush, Gibbs, Earnhardt Jr., Edwards and Busch, Jimmy Johnson. Ryan Newman was trying to make something happen in that high groove, but he's going to give up instead of gain a couple spots as Jimmy Johnson shoots up into 4th.
Boy, I tell you what, Mike, I'm watching Jeff Gordon. He is in trouble. He's lost a bunch of spots and he can't find it. He just doesn't seem like he had much handle on that car.
Darrell, they've been in trouble since they unloaded this car on Friday morning. Talked to Steve Letarte, his crew chief, this morning. They changed everything about the car, pretty much Dick Berggren, as they've done all weekend long.
Yeah, they have really struggled here, Larry. They worked on their car. It was one of the last cars to leave the garage area, and they were just hoping that all those changes that you talked about were going to work. So far, they are not working.
No, they ought to come back in and undo a bunch of those, but that thing he's falling like a rock.
We mentioned Ryan Newman, who found the outside, but finally did drop in 7th behind David Reagan and Matt Kenseth. So there's 3 of those Roush cars in the first 6 spots, just about the way we finished practice.
But you know, that's the thing about this car, Larry. It's almost hit and miss every week. You think about Jimmy Johnson at Vegas. He got lapped in like 50 laps. And here we are today with Jeff Gordon. He's got problems, looks like.
And it's really as easy to get way off with the car, or you can make a small change and be spot on.
Yeah, we're talking about hundreds of thousands. Raise it, lower it, change it just a minor a bit.
Yeah, Mike, you talked about that second groove. I think it will take a few laps before we really get that second and even that third groove in.
Jimmy Johnson pulling up on his former teammate, Kyle Busch. This is 3rd place. Steve.
Mike, Kyle Busch just had a one-word update for Steve Addington, the crew chief on the 18. He said plowing.
And that means it's not turning. He's turning the steering wheel, but the car's not responding.
No grip in the front tires. It's real simple, folks.
Maybe about 5 here.
When it's pushing, you hit the wall with the front end. When it's loose, you hit the wall with the back end.
Digger has a look at 4 cars right there sprinting away from the field. Was that Carl Spackler or was that Digger? I don't know.
I tell you, Digger spends a whole day down there saying, "Did you see that?"
John Andretti comes to pit road, felt a vibration that to him felt like a loose wheel. He'll go a lap down.
This right here is a battle for 10th between Greg Biffle in the 16, Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42. I talked to Juan this morning. One of his best starting positions of 2008, qualified 11th, and he was one of those guys that was working the second, third groove in yesterday's practice, a track that's actually been pretty good to him.
8th place again. Ryan Newman was up outside of the bottom groove, and Denny Hamlin was able to take advantage on the bottom. Hamlin, last week's winner on the short track in Virginia, his home state.
Well, you know, Mike, ideally you'd want your car to hang on that bottom all day long, right around that white line, that left wheel almost below the white line. But it's not going to happen. During the day, you're going to have to move around. Like Larry's points to the race, you got to find your groove. You take what the car will give you.
This is a battle for 16th right here between Kevin Harvick and the 29 car. No longer a battle. Kurt Busch and the 2 got a good run on the outside. Looked like Harvick had to jump out of the throttle coming off 2.
And Dale Jr.'s lead, it's disappeared. Carl Edwards is there. Kyle Busch right with him. How about our leader, Matt?
His mirror is full, Mike, and basically the only comments that he has told Tony Eury Jr. earlier, he said, I don't have a lot of grip. The car is just dirt tracking big time from the center of the corner to exit.
I'm looking back at those 2 green cars, and I know Kyle Busch was saying his car is plowing and not turning, but that car actually looks like it's going through the middle of the corner pretty good.
I think that's just a product of this car, Larry. The drivers are always unhappy with the car. It's not about the car. It's about you compared to the competition. You're better than everybody else. That's all that matters.
And you're right, Darrell. Some drivers, as we've heard on the two-way radios, have had a hard time getting that message. My car is junk. Yeah, but you're in second place.
Yeah, that's right, and you're closing on the leader.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you what Hammond always told me, work your hands and stop working your mouth.
That was before you took up this career.
Yeah.
You know, we're riding with Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, and as we well know, at this type of racetrack this year with this car, this team has really struggled. You go back, they finished 29th at Las Vegas. I know they finished 2nd at Fontana, like Chad Canals, the crew chief, told me. We had a 2nd place finish. We didn't near have a 2nd place car. But this team, since we left Bristol, they have had the full court presses. Now this battle for a 2nd is no longer a battle. Kyle Busch would take it. But back to Jimmy Johnson, they put a full court press on testing after Bristol. I think this was going to be a telltale sign. Are they gaining on this race car?
How about Carl Edwards gaining back on Kyle Busch? He let him go. And now Edwards fights back to see how the high side works.
I really believe that's what we're going to see all day. Carl and Kyle, I think they're going to race each other hard all day long because they're 2 hard chargers. And Dale Jr., he's going to want to lead a lot if he can to get all the bonus points he can.
There are your leaders. Dale Jr. up front. Green right on the bottom. That's Kyle Busch. And here comes Carl in 3rd.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. By the Ford F-150, built Ford tough. By the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. And by Sprint. Welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful.
We have a new leader in Texas. We'll show you from our DirecTV aerial coverage. Your ticket for the most sports in HD. Kyle Busch went underneath Carl Edwards to take over the lead. And then 2 laps ago, he ran a 29.30 when everybody else was running 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. So Kyle has just taken off.
Yeah, he is still beating most of the field by 2 to 3 tenths.
Steve Burns.
Mike, Kyle Busch just saying his car is still a little bit tight in 1 and 2. His crew chief Steve Addington said this morning, he said, you know, there's times I wish that Kyle would take it easy, and I followed up and assumed by saying why, so he's easier on the equipment, and he said no, I wish he would take it a little bit easier and not show all his cards so early in the race, because Darrell, he said the faster he goes early, the harder the competition works during the race.
No, it's a great point, and he's exactly right. If somebody's beating you that badly, you're not going to quit working on your car until you can possibly get up there and compete with him. So, you know, the crew is that are watching these other cars out here. They're going to say, what do we got to do to catch this dude? And they will do it.
Let's mention that Scott Riggs made an unscheduled pit stop. They put 4 tires in the car, sent him back out. Last week at Martinsville, he had transmission trouble, put him behind the wall for a while, and I apologize. We were given that information, and I neglected to pass it along. So So are all of his fans, but he's now 1 lap down.
And we're hearing his problems were exactly what John Andretti had at the start of the race. And I just don't understand that, because tightening the wheels, that's part of a checklist. But yeah, Scott Riggs qualified 13th and was still running in the top 15. Now he's a lap down. I want you to look at that 31 car, and I want you to make a note on lap 21 that we pretty much mentioned this 31 car. Jeff Burton that won this race a year ago, he qualified back in 35th position. We knew watching him yesterday that he had a good race car, and now he has moved all the way up to battling Montoya for the 17th position. This car will be a factor before the day's out.
You know what I like Burton said, and I love his theory, his philosophy on racing, these 500-mile races. Little victories. I get to here, that's a victory. Then I move on up to the next goal, that's a victory. And by the end of the day, I may be in victory circle.
Well, here's the other side of that coin, Darrell. Robbie Gordon in the number 7 on the right of your screen.
Whoa, Robbie, hang on to her, buddy.
Yeah, that's more than testing that high line.
But you know what? This car is just proven to be so resilient with that foam on the right side and the way these cars are built. That's a minor cosmetic damage.
Well, then this car of today platform came along just at the right time for Robbie Gordon.
It did, or else they're going to have to make the track bigger.
You know, we're going to continue to follow this car right here. Jeff Gordon in the 24 car. We talked about him a while ago, qualified back in the 18th position. He has fallen back to the 34th position. He is within 9 seconds of getting lapped. I think they've been doing a lot of communicating with each other.
We're in trouble. Steering completely around everywhere, but when I pick up the throttle, I get tight, especially off at 2.
When you get tied off 2, you've got to lift out of the gas, and as a result, Darrell, his lap times are 9/10 of a second slower than the leader right now.
All right, but I've been in this situation before. All right, we changed everything on the car this morning before the race because we were junk yesterday. We're junk right now, but if we can get a couple of caution flags here, we can get in the pits, we can work on this car, make some adjustments on it. Don't count him out just yet.
But the key for Gordon will be that a caution occurs before he gets lapped. We're going to show you the gap from Jeff Gordon there to the race leader. Watch for a flash of bright green, and that'll be Kyle Busch. Here he is.
Well, here comes Jeff right now as he's coming off a 4 down here to start finish line, and right behind him coming off of 4 is the 18, and he's at the line now.
It's just a little over a half a straightaway behind him in the pace that Kyle Busch is running right now. And this race has a typical Texas look, like we're in that green flag mode right now of a long green run.
Yeah, the thing about these big speedways like this, a fast with high bank, you get strung out. You kind of run your own race to a certain degree.
The only cars that are in Kyle's league on lap times right now are Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson running 2nd and 3rd. How about Carl, Dick?
As I made my rounds at the garage this morning, Mike, I asked many of the crew chiefs who they thought the toughest guy was going to be on the Speedway today, and so many of them pointed to Carl Edwards. That's because in 3 practice sessions, he was 2nd quick, fastest, and qualified in the 2nd position. He has told the crew twice that the car is just a little bit tight when he picks up the throttle, but he has got a good race car today. No doubt they're going to make a minor change when they make their first pit stop.
And you can see Carl sitting in the car right there. I love this shot. You look at his hand position. He's at the 3 and the 9 position. A little different than what we did back old school. He's driving that car a lot like you drive a computer game. Got to hold that steering wheel like you would if you were driving one of those computer simulators.
Kyle Busch leads by 2.5 seconds. Trouble turn 4. A car has spun Michael Waltrip.
He just got up too high. I was watching.
Hang on, you're good.
He's been running that high line, and he got too high that time.
Yeah, he's been running against the wall. He was running in the 23rd position.
Come on.
He had moved up.
Come on out to the track. Come up on the track.
He was in treacherous territory.
That's the first caution of the afternoon. It comes for a single car spin. Michael Waltrip, who had a very frustrating day last Sunday in Martinsville. Here's what Michael saw.
You just see he enters the turn really, really high, and he's been doing that. But when you get up that high, there's still a little bit of dust and the debris, dirt up there. Got too much of it.
Hang on, you're good. Hang on, you're good.
See, another advantage to this car, Mike. It's a little bit slower in the turns.
Gas it up, you're in good shape.
It's you have to back off, and you're a little slower through the turns. You can spin this car out and not hit anything.
This caution, a big break for Jeff Gordon, as we said, and also for Kevin Harvick, who had fallen out of the top 20. His car has not been handling to his liking. And I'm sure a lot of drivers appreciating this chance to see if they can twist on this thing a bit and get it as quick as Kyle Busch's.
Yeah, with this thing being almost a little over halfway through a fuel stop, pit road will be very busy. Adjustments, 4 tires. We do need to make a note that Michael Waltrip stayed on the lead lap. He did not go a lap down in that 55 car.
And his spin will bring one of his teammates back on the lead lap, Michael McDowell, who had that wild flip in qualifying here on Friday that you've seen on every TV station in the nation, is the recipient of the free pass. There's Michael in his backup car. He'll be back on the lead lap. Pit road's open. Steve Burns.
Mike, Kyle Busch just saying that the car is good on entry, but he said then it wants to step out on me during landing. It's a little tight in the center of 1 and 2. They're going to make, or have already made a small air pressure adjustment. They'll also make a wedge adjustment. Dick.
Carl Edwards in his pit stall right now. Robbie Reiser calling the shots. Regular crew chief Bob Osborne is out with a penalty. A minor adjustment to the car. Matt Yoakum.
Hendrick teammates on the bottom of your screen. Track bar adjustment for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was dirt tracking just so loose. Jimmy Johnson, he was free as well. Chad Canals going to try to fix the 48 by going down on air pressure for more grip. Krista?
Tony Stewart came in. He was dissecting the corner. He said the last third of the corner, that's the most important part. That's where he's loose. He said, Zippy, as crew chief, that is where I need the help.
Pole sitter Dale Earnhardt Jr. got a good jump off pit road.
They had a great pit stop. By having that first pit box leaving pit road, they were able to win the battle off pit road.
Welcome back to Fort Worth, where the traffic jam used to be down at the stockyards, and now it's a ways up 35W and at 114, where Texas Motor Speedway rises into the sky, and upwards 180,000 plus fans are set to watch this restart with Dale Jr. leading Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch. Looks like we're ready for our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Live Claret and Clear indoors and out.
Mike, those were not exactly the kind of horns that I thought we needed here today.
Far cry from the chrome horn, DW.
Yes,
has the same effect. Here we go. That's Mike Skinner on the inside trying to get back on the lead lap to no avail in the 84. And the 3 leaders take off.
I think the race will change. Every time there's a caution and there's time to get in the pits and adjust, you'll see this race take a different look. The complexion of the race will change, I bet you.
And we mentioned that pit spot that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was pitting in. That comes from sitting on the pole, because you select your pits by how you qualify. And when you're right there on the caution, you don't have to move that far to win the battle off pit road.
Larry, did you ever have places that you just couldn't wait to get to, racetracks?
Oh, yeah.
That you just knew that when you got there, your driver was going to be happy, your car was going to be happy, and you might be able to end up in victory circle?
And I got a feeling that's what that 88 car was feeling coming here, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
New face in the top 5, Casey Kane. Came off pit road in 4th position. There's his look at the 3 leaders. They're about 1 second ahead of him.
Well, Casey Kane, Dale Jr. is trying to do something that Casey Kane did here a couple of years ago, win from the pole.
The only guy to ever do it.
Only other guy that's ever done it.
Casey's been feast or famine here. He won here, the race Darrell was talking about, but in his other 5 races, he's finished 18th or worse.
I think he'll do pretty well today, Larry, because that car's been really consistent this year. They've got a good handle on that car now. He and Kenny Francis seem to be got her dialed in.
Carl Edwards goes by Casey for 4th place.
You know, I know we're riding with one guy that's won here, and we're looking at another guy that's won here. And I know, Mike, you talked about the Roush Fenway group. They have won 5 times here. But this place, it's like no one has just absolutely got their arms around it. We've had 14 races here with 13 different winners. Only Jeff Burton has won it more than once.
Now here's one car there. Looks like it's improved since that first run. That's Tony Stewart. He was battling back about 16th, 17th place in the first green flag run. Now he's picked it up to 11th. Looking at David Reagan, who would be the 10th place car.
You know, I watched him yesterday in practice, Larry, Tony Stewart in the 20 car. And I think one of the things that they're doing right now is Track's a little bit different than it was yesterday, so you're going to have to come that first time in, make a little air pressure adjustment, maybe a little wedge change to get the car for the conditions today. But I think that 20 car is pretty good.
Yeah. Kristen.
Well, Mike, his crew thinks he's pretty good, too. You know, a lot of folks, if they've been following our coverage this weekend, they may say, wow, Tony qualified 24th. He was only 28th in happy hour. What happened to Tony? But his car chief, Jason Shapiro, said, do not worry. We're going to be just fine. We just didn't get all of the things done in happy hour that we wanted to get done. They said Tony knows that it's a small window you have to have. They've kept this car in that window. They think they're going to be just fine.
Now, we saw Carl Edwards a little bit ago. We saw his hand position on the steering wheel. You can tell so much about a race car. The fans, if you fans at home would just watch these shots we have throughout the day, look at the different hand positions, look how far they crank the wheel around. It tells you so much about their race car. He's not jacking on that wheel. He's going down into turn 1 right now, nice and smooth, gentle tug on the wheel. Tony's a little bit more at the 1 in 10 position, which tells you there's so much to be learned there. If you're a casual observer, you don't learn a lot. But from a guy like me, tells me he's got a pretty good slow steering box in the car and some other things that are all driver preferences.
This car definitely looks like it's balanced good right now.
He's not fighting with the car.
Let's pick up the 5th place battle. Casey Kane and another of the Roush-Keteers, Greg Biffle. Biffle was very strong in both practice sessions yesterday in that number 16.
A brand new car they brought here this weekend for Greg. They've been running a lot of brand new race cars about every single week, and I know they were awfully happy after that final practice yesterday.
Biffle makes the pass to move up to 5th, Matt.
And Biffle's season continues just to improve and improve. In fact, a very solid weekend qualifying and in practice, but the car really coming to life. No changes on their last stop. The only issue you had, Mike, you just felt like the car was a little too aero-tight, stuck in traffic. But so far, very pleased with the 16.
And I think you can credit some of that, Larry. You know this better than anybody. He and his crew chief seem to now be clicking. Seem to be reading each other very well. He and Greg Irwin seem to be really on the same page.
They really are. They seem to really complement each other and understand each other. And that relationship there, that's where the success starts. If you can get that right, you can fill in all the blanks around it.
All of the Roush Fenway cars in the top 20, 4 out of 5 in the top 10. And McMurray started 32nd, so he's gained 16 spots.
Speaking of Roush Fenway, there comes Matt Kenseth in that 17 car. He's driving underneath Casey Kane. Steve, looks like Matt has a pretty good piece today.
They're working on it, Larry. Matt has finished 2nd in 3 of the last 4 races here. He said 90% of what I need is more front grip. I'm concerned about roasting that right rear late in a run.
And that's pretty much typical Texas. As this track loses grip, and especially on into a run when you get some laps on the tires and you burn the fuel load off and you gain nose weight, the car loses more and more front grip. That's always been a challenge here since we first started coming here in 1997.
I don't know about roasting that right rear now. that's one of those things. What's he talking about?
We'll find out after this.
Roasting the right rear.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading the Samsung 500 in Texas.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
New leader in Texas. You're riding with Jimmy Johnson to the outside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And the defending Sprint Cup champion powers past into the lead. He's now led for 4 laps in this race. Chevy and Fox Sports have joined forces in April to support Autism Awareness Month, and you can help Chevy raise money for the cause. Go to the website on your screen, autismspeaks.org. Click the Help Chevy Help Autism icon, and when you watch the video, Chevy will donate to Autism Speaks for every viewing of the video on the website. And Chevy hopes to raise $1 million to aid this great cause of autism research and cure.
And you know, Mike, as we was watching that out of Jimmy's car, how you make that transition off of turn 2 over there, when you're on the bottom, you go across that transition, and that's what unloads or dumps the car almost. When you can get a higher run off of turn 2, you can avoid all that and come straight off the corner and run across that transition. That doesn't upset the car so much.
Dick, what folks who are fans of Kevin Harvick and the 24 Jeff Gordon are wondering is how can a driver that's that good have a car that right now is running this badly?
I'm quite sure that both those drivers are wondering the same thing. Harvick's car is pushing hard, is pushing so hard he said he can't imagine how it's pushing that hard. As for Jeff Gordon, his car was absolutely terrible in practice. On the last pit stop, they made major adjustments to the car, but Gordon has said that he doesn't think they can fix the car today. He is right now all the way back in the 32nd spot.
Well, I know they'll never give up, but I know I talked to Steve Letarte this morning, and already for 2 days they've thrown everything I think they know to throw at that car, and then some. They've just not made any gains.
Well, then, Darrell, I've got to ask you, here comes Jimmy Johnson. He's leading the race. He and the 24 share a shop. They share all their information. Why is one car so good and one car can be so bad at the same moment on the same day?
Well, they're different driving styles. That's the biggest thing. I mean, one guy likes it loose, one likes it pushing. That's a huge factor. But I tell you, it's hard for me to conceive that bunch that was so dominant in this new car at the end of last year could get that far out of the ballpark. I just don't really understand it.
Hendrick Motorsports has yet to win this year.
Yeah, and Chad Knaus, the crew chief for Jimmy Johnson, he has told me they can take one race car to the track and they can put Jimmy Johnson and have him run 5 laps. He will come in and tell you, you've got to free this car up. It's too tight as we watch the battle now between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kyle Busch. Then you can put Jeff Gordon in that race car, and he'll tell you without no changes, you've got to tighten it up. It's way too free.
Okay. Matt has more.
Mike, just like in the movie Groundhog Day for Bill Murray, for Jimmy Johnson, it's almost like the last time he was at Texas out front a few moments ago. He keyed the mic and told his team, this is the best car that I've had in such a long time, and it is definitely showing for Dale Earnhardt Jr. His car is showing what it did earlier. Very fast at the beginning of the run, but starts to fade, just going to the free side, which is done once again.
Thanks, Matt. Jimmy has a lead of 1.2 seconds on Kyle Busch. There's the race for third, Edwards and Earnhardt Jr. Biffle and Kenseth behind them. Dick?
Well, Carl Edwards a while back said that he felt a vibration in the car, but that was about 10-12 laps ago, Mike. We haven't heard him say anything more about it. But his concern about the car being tight in the center of the corner, they hoped they had adjusted that out of the car on the pit stop. They did not. Carl Edwards still tight in the middle, but still running extremely well. Right now, he is in the third spot.
Now, Gerald, I know one thing that I did here in the garage area yesterday and this morning is these cars for the first time this year are experiencing more of getting tighter behind another car. That's something we've not heard a lot this year, but basically when you're in clean air without a car in front of you, you've got maximum pressure on the front tires. You've got maximum downforce. Then when you get behind it, you lose that, and it seems like the cars have been more sensitive here this week than they have all year long.
Yeah, it goes from pushing down to picking up, lifting up.
But Darrell and Larry, one of the things we just saw a moment ago, the track temperature itself, 92 degrees. This is probably the hottest day that I can remember all season long. And in particularly, these Cup cars have not been on the track all weekend long in a situation like this. So I'm kind of wondering if we're getting like a little bit of a mix of a push versus a loss of grip because of the track greasing up a little bit more. We see the guys run a little bit higher groove, some of them. Other guys are still able to hook around the bottom. But I wonder if this is like a byproduct of a hotter and a slicker, racetrack because of the heat that we're seeing here this afternoon.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, I think Larry agreed, that the more caution we have, the more cars we'll bring into the mix because you can adjust to these conditions. That's something the crew chief and the driver are going to talk about every time they come down pit road.
And we're right now at the heat of the day, 79 degrees ambient temperature. That was the forecast high
Jimmy, the 18th.
for Fort Worth today. So things may cool off and the action may heat up a little as we go forward here in Texas. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Yeah, that's right. I am in front. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. 65 laps in, Jimmy Johnson, your leader, leading for the first time. 7th Texas spring race, only 12 laps led in the previous 9 Texas races. He's led more than a dozen today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with 30 laps led, 4 leaders and 4 different lead changes. And at the Great American Speedway, you always get a great meal. And this from an award-winning chef, the Iron Chef champion, Tim Love, who has a restaurant in Fort Worth, Texas, called Lonesome Dove. He put this together. This is just for Hammond, his appetizer. Jeff, you've actually eaten at his restaurant. I know they're over in Bruton Smith's Suite watching the race and enjoying some of this.
Oh, yeah, enjoying this type of stuff. But the thing is, when you think about this, is a bone-in ribeye, folks, right here. We've got some pheasant, we've got quail eggs, we have some duck, we've got tomatoes. I mean, it's a gourmet meal. And this is what you can expect when you come down here to Texas.
Lonesome Dove, quail legs, right? I was thinking of bow legs with TW in the pre-race show.
Yeah, Daryl has a problem.
All right, and the bone we give to Artie Kepner, our director, because he'll eat the bone before the meat. He's just one of those who gnaws on that.
Exactly right.
All right, you guys can gnaw on that. Let's go back up to Larry, Daryl, and Mike. We'll see. I know you guys are eating well up there, but we'll save you some.
Yeah, we got slick meat sandwiches up here.
Just think, Chris, if you'd only hit that squirrel on the 10th fairway yesterday, what a bountiful repast that could have been. We are 68 laps in here in Texas. Jimmy Johnson leading Kyle Busch by about 0.6 of a second. And coming up, about to lap, Jeff Gordon, his teammate.
Larry, you got any Grey Poupon on you?
Let me check my left pocket here. Yeah, we're about 12 laps from what will be green flag pit stops. They were on pit road back on lap 30, but we're about a half a lap or a quarter of a lap, I think, from Jeff Gordon go a lap down to his teammate Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Then what Jeff Gordon's goal will be, stay the first car a lap down. We get the caution, then he gets the free pass back on the lead lap, but they still got a ton of work to do on that 24.
I got to believe Jimmy Johnson says, did Jeff's pit sometime? Was he just in the pits?
Yeah. Well, these cars are used to running nose to tail, as our producer Barry Landis points out, but not with one going a lap down. And Steve, that 18's coming again.
Mike, Kyle just reported that he was tight in the center and loose off on the last pit stop. They made a pretty big air pressure adjustment for Kyle Busch. And after they made the pit stop, he was joking with the team. He said, you know, it's kind of fun watching all the fans sit down when I go by the 88.
Let's face it, this sport has always had white hats and black hats. There are no natural rivalries in this sport. You pick who you're going to pull for, and you pick for somebody you hope that you want to see your guy pass.
Yeah, well, and he's out there racing and running 200 miles an hour, and he just notices that the fans are standing up and sitting down.
I was talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let's go back to one of his former teammates, Martin Truex Jr. in this one car. I've been watching Martin, solid qualifying run. He qualified 12th. I talked to Kevin Mannion, his crew chief, this morning. They look like they had a car good on long runs, and he's backing it up because he has stayed in the top 10 almost since the drop of the green flag, right now in 7th.
You're right, Larry. That car was evil at the start of the race. He lost a bunch of spots, but they have made them back up, and he's a solid top 10 car right now. His teammate Paul Menard in 16th and racing well. Mark Martin 18th, the other DEI Chevy. Bobby Labonte going a lap down. A lot of news out of the Petty camp this week, with General Mills announcing they'll move to Richard Childress to a 4th Childress team next year, and Kyle Petty's car failing to qualify with Chad McCumbee aboard. Kyle returns to the seat in Phoenix next week.
And we do know that Bobby Labonte has been offered a contract that would pretty much finish out his career at Petty Enterprises, but he has yet to sign that contract.
A lot of open seats for 2009 right now, and a lot of drivers whose contracts are up for renewal. Silly season will be interesting indeed this year. 31 cars on the lead lap, 78 laps complete in Texas. We have one caution flag at lap 30, and green flag pit stops have begun. Matt?
And for the 11 of Denny Hamlin, his biggest issue, the car was just way too tight. Chassis adjustment already completed. Mike Ford was going to try to fix it again with air pressure. He only gained 1 spot, Mike, over that last fuel run.
Larry, are we on time for green flag stops, or is he just a little bit early?
Maybe a little bit early, but I think this is going to start an outbreak because you really can't afford to stay out there too long, because it's about 2.5 seconds from old tires to fresh tires.
You know, Kyle Busch must be getting bored.
Bored?
Yeah, he came off turn 4, and he just gets right. Watch this. Carl's right in front of him. They're running 2nd and 3rd. And he says, hey, Carl, can't you go any faster? Look at that.
He's just having fun.
And it reminds me about when we were at Vegas and he kept driving down on the apron just for fun.
Right. Because it was there.
Yeah, because he could.
Bobby Labonte had just gone a lap down before we went to break. He comes in for a stop.
Here comes Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. Now Matt was up in the 6th position, so I think now we'll really start to see a lot of the leaders hit pit road.
Steve?
Matt Kenseth saying that he's tight in the middle, loose off. That's a common refrain today. I need more front grip. He said it's been freeing up on me. I feel like I'm waiting on the tires.
But just to support what I was saying, Denny Hamlin's first lap up the speed was a 31.67, and right now our leaders are all running in the high 32s. We see Kevin Harvick in the 29, Hornish in the 77, Gordon in the 24. A lot of cars a lap down actually coming to pit road.
Travis Quappelin as well, Patrick Carpentier, and Michael Waltrip. Here's Dick.
And Kevin Harvick is in, and his car has been incredibly tight. He said he can't imagine how it has been that tight. Jeff Gordon pitting right behind him. His car has been incredibly loose. He can't imagine how loose it could be. Everybody's going to take 4 tires and a load of fuel.
Ryan Newman, David Gilliland, Joe Nemechek come in. And then here comes Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch coming with him, Robbie Gordon, Elliott Sadler. Steve?
Mike, discussion between Kyle Busch and Steve Addington. Kyle saying I go from tight to loose in a fraction of seconds in turn 2. They talked about a wedge adjustment. Kyle said don't change the wedge. That's what makes this thing turn. Dick Berger, and they'll adjust air.
And Carl Edwards in. He has told the crew if they can get the tight in the center out of the car, he will be very bad. That means very good. They're doing it with air pressure. Matt.
The 9 of Casey Kane just came to a stop. Meanwhile, the 16 of Greg Biffle. No changes on the first stop. Slight chassis adjustment this stop. Greg Irwin, his crew chief, didn't want to make any big adjustments to try to just see how this racetrack will change. 88 of Dale Jr. coming in soon. Krista?
Tony Stewart comes in, back on the straightaway. He gave a mouthful, saying everything that was wrong with his car. His crew chief, Greg Zipadelli, said, which one is worse? Tony said it's a tie between the center and the exit. Matt.
88, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson leaving his pit stall while the 88 guys are on the wall waiting for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jimmy Johnson, basically his biggest issue, the car has started to go to the free side. Meanwhile, the Bud guys, their service, Casey Kane a little earlier, they made a slight track bar adjustment. His car was on the free side. Meanwhile, the National Guard guys waiting for their guy. Here he comes, Dale Earnhardt Jr. to pull nicely to a stop. He's got the very first pit stall. He wanted a significant chassis adjustment, said it just felt like a number of cranks there. Felt like he was just riding on that right rear tire, completely gone to the free side. Solid stop so far, and he's down and away.
Martin Truex led a lap before coming on to pit road. So
Boy,
number 1 Chevy.
Larry, Mike, I don't know. Something's going on with Junior's car, Dale Junior's car. When he came on pit road, he was really, really slow. And I think when it cycles through, Larry, we're going to see that he lost a ton of time.
He's going to lose a ton of time for 3 reasons. 1, very slow getting on the pit road.
Well, make up all that ground I'm on.
There you go. He gave up a lot of time because he was one of the last cars to come to pit road. Plus, he got boxed in behind Mark Martin once he was on pit road. So all kinds of problems on that pit stop under green.
Reed Sorensen comes in, and Jeremy Mayfield. That just about cycles us through green flag pit stops. 86 laps complete in Texas.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Coca-Cola Zero. Real Coke taste, 0 calories. Enjoy Cokeness. By Toyota, moving forward. And by non-drowsy Claritin Allergy Products.
Jimmy Johnson still leads by 1.2 seconds in Texas. Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot site on FoxSports.com, just got even cooler with the addition of Tony Stewart. Starting this week, Tony joins Darrell, Larry, and Jeff to answer your NASCAR questions anytime, anywhere, 24/7 at FoxSports.com/AskThePros.
It's really a cool deal, Mike. I mean, I get all kind of emails from and people watch. They ask the most intelligent questions. We got some people out there that know what's happening.
Let's talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. Remember, before that breakout of green flag pit stops, he was actually right there. The top 4 and 5 were pretty close to each other, but I think because of the way he got on the pit road, getting blocked in behind Mark Martin, and then staying out there to be one of the last cars to come to pit road, he is now almost 10 seconds behind leader Jimmie Johnson.
Here he comes now. He's got down on the inside. He's really slow before he ever. I thought at first it was he thought he had exceeded the speed limit getting to the commitment line. But look, he is pretty slow right in here. And when he gets to the commitment line, I mean, he stopped. Not sure what that's all about.
I wonder if they misinterpreted the tack reading when they were out there on the parade laps, Darrell, because on Fox tracks, his speed at that point where you saw him, he looked so slow, was well below pit road speed.
And the other thing it could be is that he, you know, the opening down there in the pit wall, you got the commitment line, the cone, and then the opening. Maybe he thought maybe he didn't think maybe he thought he went too fast coming across the line. And
you heard him say he knew it was his error. He says, I'll get back. That time I cost you coming onto pit road.
Here's the commitment line. I think what happened is if we pan on down the pit lane here, I think what happened was when he got to that commitment line, I think there's another opening down here, and he thought, oh my gosh, I think I come in too hot. See, right in here, there's another line. I think maybe he got a little bit confused about which line was the timing line.
Well, perhaps so. And right now, Dale Jr. is 7th. The pole sitter is 10 seconds off the lead. How's his car after the stop, Matt?
No confusion, Mike, about how his car is now. It's basically gotten worse. He said, I can barely hold on to it. The changes we made, which are supposed to tighten up the race car, have actually made it even looser.
Right-hand side of the screen now, we're watching Elliott Sadler in the 19 car. Elliott right now is already a lap down back in the 32nd position. That car, I believe, he's got some serious problems.
Yeah, I almost think it's like a brake problem, Larry, because he looked like he was trying to get on pit road.
And he's not going to come this time, but this was about the lap before.
We're told it's an electrical problem on Sadler's car.
All right, probably what has happened is he lost ignition. These cars, they have a backup ignition system in them. He has a backup battery, everything. He can throw a switch. Looks like to me now the car's back up and going.
Well, what happened when the ignition fails on the car? The first thing the driver thinks of, it blew up.
Yep.
And then the crew has to say, try your backup ignition or try the other ignition. You do, and all of a sudden they go pop, 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 and away you go.
Yeah, most of these cars, they have 2 ignition boxes, 2 coils, and as I say, a lot of them have 2 batteries as well.
Jimmie Johnson now with an 0.8 of a second lead on Carl Edwards. Kyle Busch is 3rd. Next Saturday night in prime time, we're in Phoenix for the Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox. Saturday night prime time. Be there.
I love that racetrack. It's a mile racetrack, but it's so fun. It's got an odd shape to it, and man, you talk about doing some beating and banging and slipping and sliding. We will next week.
In the desert on Saturday night. Now, we've been talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Eury Jr. waiting to be one of the last cars to make a green flag stop. On the flip side of that, Denny Hamlin, Mike Ford in the 11, they were the first car to make a green flag stop, and the reward they reaped for that pretty much was being up there now in the top 5 because they got advantage of those fresh tires much quicker than all the other cars did. But right now he's going to have his hands full of that 88 car.
So it may have been a little early, but it sure was a good call.
It definitely put him up into the top 5. Because when you look at Dale Earnhardt Jr., who pitted on lap 85, Denny Hamlin lapped 78. That's 7 laps. If you just say a second a lap, that's 7 seconds he gained by having those fresh tires.
One thing I'm noticing, Larry, is the lap times. They continue to kind of escalate. They're not that great, but still they're not. We're almost 33-second laps here a little bit ago. Right now we're just down low 32s. So I think the adjustments, maybe the track's cooling off a skosh. Things are getting a little better.
How big a win was this for Denny Hamlin last week? You know, most of his season last year was not a lot to write home about.
That grandfather clock it motivates you, man. You want to have one of those things. You hear about them. You know drivers that have them. You'd like to have one to take home with you. Have your own.
Especially when you're from the state of Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
You just saw on our Fox tracks there, that right there, that pretty much stated the 7 laps difference. Denny Hamlin will have to be on pit road 6 to 7 laps earlier should we go to another set of green flag stops. And Darrell, we've been talking about it. Texas has a way of creating that, a lot of green flag runs.
Well, when we talk about a racetrack that has multi-grooves, run high, run low, run the middle, you don't have any excuse for running over people. You know, he goes high, you go low. He goes low, you go high, and you shouldn't be running over people. So the only thing that's going to cause a caution here is debris or a mechanical failure.
21 cars on the lead lap right now.
Or the wall.
As Jimmy Johnson passes through 100 laps. To lap 103, Carl Edwards trying some different lines to catch the leader right now as you ride with Carl. And my favorite oxymoron, jumbo shrimp. These shrimp for Bruton Sweet, Jeff, they're the size of your hat.
The size of my hat, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's what I call Texas size. But, Larry, you were talking a minute ago about the problems with Elliott Sadler's car. You mentioned the double ignition that we run here, the dual ignitions. Here we go. This is what it looks like as it's mounted on the dash of the car today. You see here, this is the ignition box, coil, all of it's routed back over. If you look here on the dash, you'll be able to see. Here is the on and off switch. But here is also the opportunity, so when the ignition system goes bad, the driver can reach up and go to the backup system. All he has to do is throw a switch. I was a little bit amazed that Elliott was down on the apron like he was, because all he had to do, guys, throw that switch. He's got a backup ignition.
But, Jeff, I agree with Darrell. He may have thought that thing actually blew up, and he was just trying to get off the racetrack.
Yeah. Trust me, that's the first thing you think when it quits running. Well, she blew up, and then the crew chief jumps in and says, try this, try that.
Matt Kenseth on the prowl for 3rd place. Steve, how about Kyle Busch? He's gone up the racetrack.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth is getting better, and Kyle Busch has gotten very loose, Mike. He said he's loose in and loose off. They're talking about their adjustments already for their next stop. Kyle wants to make a track bar adjustment, and he said to Steve Addington, keep adjusting that air pressure for me.
And Darrell, I can't help but remember Kyle Busch, and you can see him right there, how loose he is. Remember what he said when they dropped the green flag, pushing like a dump truck. You just wonder if they adjusted too quick and too much on that race car for basically a track that hadn't been raced on since yesterday afternoon.
One of the things they said that kind of confused me is Steve Addington wanted to put some wedge in the car. That will tighten the car up. But on the other hand, Kyle said, no, that'll slow me down, which wedge will, because it makes the car a little tighter. So I think they got to come to a compromise there to get the car right.
But when Kyle Busch complains about being loose, you better go to work on it.
107 complete, 227 to go here in Fort Worth. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
I'm keeping them in my rearview mirror all day long. There's more NASCAR on Fox next.
Pit stops completed after this caution flag. Matt Kenseth wins the race off pit road. Jeff Gordon was hustling his car, trying to keep from going a second lap down, and it got away from him and into the turn 4 wall. That's what's put us under the second caution flag of the day.
13.5-second pit stop for Chip Bowling, that 17 crew. And remember, our tires have 5 lug nuts, and they dump 18 gallons of Sunoco race fuel.
Coming in from the right.
Way back, you can see him way back there. There he goes. He just lost it. I was looking right at it. The car just come around with him. He's been hanging on to that thing quite a bit all afternoon.
Now, he did take it to the garage area, and we heard him tell Steve Letarte, we need to go in, fix this thing, and start changing everything. We need to turn this into a test session. I cannot drive this thing for 500 miles like this.
Steve said, come to the pits, get 4 tires. He said, no, come to the garage and get 4 springs.
A tough day for Jeff Gordon as his teammate Jimmy Johnson leads a good part of this race. Here are the lap down cars making their stops on the second lap by that the pits are open. Johnson came out of the pits second behind Matt Kenseth. Let's review these pit stops under caution. Here's Matt.
Mike, the 48 team trying to make it back-to-back wins here at the Great American Speedway. The tires look great that came off the car. Jimmy said it's still very free track. Bar adjustment went down again. That's what they did on the previous stop. Chad Knaus did it again on this stop, just trying to tighten this 48 car up. Steve?
Well, Carl Edwards came into the pits running in the second position. He left in the third position. Said that the change that they had made on the previous stop, which was an air pressure adjustment, worked well to try to solve the problem of the understeer in the middle of the corner. So they have made yet one more change in that same direction. Steve.
Well, Dick, we had just reported that Kyle Busch said he had gotten bad loose, and that caution, a good break for him. They're going to make a track bar adjustment. Meanwhile, Matt Kenseth in the 17 said there's too little air pressure in the front tire, so they adjusted on the 17, but he's moving up, Krista.
Tony Stewart said his entry and exit are better. The center's still tight. But the funniest thing he said on the radio, he said, hey, Zippy, how many laps is this thing? Zippy said, well, we've got about 217 to go. Tony said, that's depressing. Don't let me know unless it's anything under 50.
Thanks, Krista. We're about 1/3 distance, if Tony wants to know. Time for an AT&T race break.
8 different lead changes, a couple of cautions. How it began, the 88 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was on the pole. Remember, he qualified at just over 190 miles per hour in this race and had the early lead, has led 31 laps in this race. Kyle Busch passing him on lap 14. And Kyle Busch actually leading so far 16 laps in this race. When a caution came out, Junior slept back. This was the caution Michael Waltrip spinning. He was all right, but Junior in the pits, his crew helps him make up 3 spots. He gets back into the lead, but since then we've had a couple of different leaders, and Jimmy Johnson and then Matt Kenseth taking over as we check on the AT&T race break with Jeff Hammond. And how about Jeff Gordon? He had just gotten into the top 10 in points. He was 9th, currently running 15th as he is out of the race for the moment.
This is bad news for him and as far as Steve Letarte not having a very good race, and particularly since his teammate Jimmy Johnson's been so strong all day. But for these guys to fall back out of that top 12 and be kind of like, you know, lost, that's not a very good sign.
That's our AT&T race break. They're getting ready to go green, so let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike. Don't forget the top 4 car numbers picked by our viewers to win today's race, our pre-race coverage each week, and you can play on AT&T.
Getting ready for the restart. Jeff Gordon is the only car in the garage area. If he stays there, he'll drop 6 positions in the Nextel Cup standings. Time for our Claret and Clear to drive restart. Get Claret and Clear and get back to feeling like yourself again.
Now, what was one misfortune for one Hendrick car was a fortune for the other Hendrick car. Casey Mears, the 5 car, gets the free pass because of Jeff Gordon's caution. So he's now back on the lead lap. That puts 22 cars now on the lead lap.
You know, one thing I was looking at minimum air pressure. You can be down to 21 pounds in your left rear tire, and you can be down to 23 pounds in your left front tire. That's not a lot of air when you're on a big racetrack like this. So they got a lot of room to play with those tires right here.
But at speed, pressure builds quickly. And how about building our volume a little quickly? How about we crank it up, Texas style? Kenseth ekes out a 0.3 of a second lead on Jimmy Johnson as they come around. Carl Edwards in 3rd. Roush Katir's running 1st, 3rd, and 7th right now, and 14th and 15th. Reagan and McMurray. Here are your Ford moves of the race. And there are the 3 leading Roush Fenway cars in the rundown.
Larry, those old motors, You can listen to them on that when we crank it up. They are working, man.
Yes, they are.
Things are up over $9 grand, and they are screaming.
I know these engines are awfully durable today, but again, we talked about it all weekend. That sustained hanging RPM up there about 9,400 top, only down to about 71, 7,200 off the throttle in the corners. You know, we work as hard as we can to make note of the comers and goers when a race starts. A couple of guys that we want to make note that has actually already went a lap down. Kurt Busch in the 2, Dave Blaney, who looked awfully good in yesterday's practice. Kevin Harvick is a lap down, and a lot of the open wheel guys, Montoya, Compantier, as well as Sam Hornish Jr., all those cars now 1 or more laps down here.
And add to that list Reed Sorensen. He was the best of his group, of the Ganassi group, in practice yesterday.
And I think what put him behind was he hit the wall coming off turn 2. We talked about turn 2 and our keys to the race, and got up against the wall, had to start back in 42nd. Even though they got it good yesterday, the pace that these guys set at the start of the race just put him a lap down.
And of course, with not a lot of cautions, you don't get a lot of lucky dogs. You don't get a lot of people getting laps back. So you have a lot of cars ending up a lap down.
That definitely will put these guys like Kevin Harvick, Dave Blaney in the 22 right in front of him, and then Kurt Busch up there in the 2 fighting to be the first car a lap down should we get a caution to get the free pass.
And another curious condition, here's Harvick in 25th, while his teammates Boyer and Burton run 10th and 11th, much like Jimmy Johnson running in 2nd place, and his teammate Jeff Gordon had a car he could not drive and is now in the garage.
It's just so, but it can be a matter of a different shock package. Maybe he's on bump stops and the other guys are on coil bind. They got too many setups. It's so confusing. Pick the wrong one, you don't run too well.
Well, Clint Boyer is the leading Childress car right now in 10th, Krista.
And they needed to tighten his car up. He said his car was so loose, I think his voice went up a few octaves when he said loose baby before that last caution came out. And you know, it's no question, it's obvious to everyone, Clint Boyer, a native of Kansas, he's a KU fan. He's so excited the Jayhawks are playing for the national championship. His crew chief, Gil Martin, told him before the race started, Clint, you win this race and I will wear a KU hat. I'll even put a bumper sticker on my truck.
Well, now that's big. All right, Steve Burns is with Jeff Gordon in the garage.
Yeah, Mike, he's just come out of the transporter. Jeff, you and Steve Letarte and the team have been debriefing. It seems like it's been a struggle for all weekend for the 24 team.
I don't know. I can't remember the last time we struggled this bad. Yeah, it's just a bad day gone worse for DuPont Chevrolet Impala team. And I wish I had an answer for you. I don't. We're just really, really bad. And he lost control of the car. I was hanging on every single lap, and you know, we're just gonna see if we can get back out there and do some testing, because we've not felt anything like this. You know, we've seen the 48 go through some of their troubles, and we haven't sensed any of that until we got here, and we've been way off, and we gotta find it, because we can't go through the year like this.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff Gordon and that whole Hendrick team winless coming in here to Texas, and who would have predicted that at the start of this season?
But we look at his teammate Jimmy Johnson running 2nd right here now. They went through some of these trials in the first few races. Looks like they fixed their problems, and whatever it is, Jeff needs to get on the same page with Jimmy.
We do need to make note that John Andretti in the 34 car, he has now joined the 24 car Jeff Gordon in the garage area, temporarily right now out of the race.
One of the things that I love about the seat that you see Jimmy Johnson sitting in, and the way you're supported in these cars now, no part of your body is being stressed. You got things to lean on. You got the headrest for your head. You got the rib support. You got the shoulder support. It really allows the driver to concentrate and focus on his driving. He doesn't have to use the steering wheel to hold himself in position. That makes it a lot easier on you. And look at him. He's going down the back here, nice and smooth. He's not wrestling with that car. That's a good handling race car right there. And he's up over the top with that right hand. Got a nice little hand. The car looks like it's nice and comfortable.
Daryl, this supports what we were talking about right here. Look at the RPM. That was going off in the turn 1. It was climbing over 9,000. But again, we saw over 7,000 at the lowest point of the RPM band.
And you have to look like he did in that car to be able to run that fast.
Matt Kenseth leading the Samsung 500 in Texas.
Ooh, the plot thickens. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Viagra, by Dish Network. Never miss your favorite shows with a Dish DVR. And by Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Caution's out in Texas. We have an unofficial little pool up here in the booth. We bet a shrimp on which of the drivers running the high line will be the first to run across the safer barrier.
I love Robbie Gordon to death, but I just had told Darrell, watch the 7 car going into 3 through 3 and 4, and lo and behold, he got it. What he did, he got up a little too high on his entrance up there in that gray. There's no grip, and the car just wouldn't turn.
I'm glad I didn't bet you.
So it's the third caution of the day. Comes out for Robbie Gordon, and 2 cars that were battling hard to stay in the free pass position. Dave Blaney and Kurt Busch passed and repassed each other, about once a lap. They were really going at it. Kevin Harvick was catching them to see who could become the first car 1 lap down. Give the nod to Kurt Busch. He'll be back on the lead lap.
Well, it's been about 22 laps since we were on pit road, Steve. I believe they'll all be coming your way. 4 tires and full of Sunoco race fuel.
Larry Mack, listening to Matt Kenseth, he said, I want to turn just a little bit better, but they really haven't had that many green flag laps, so no changes on the 17, just 4 tires. Meanwhile, in the 18, Kyle Busch said the last time the air pressure adjustment really helped on exit, Krista.
Steve, rotating through the middle, that's what Tony Stewart needs too. He said, hey, if we just keep freeing this thing up, similar to Atlanta, I think we'll be okay. Dick?
Carl Edwards, fill-in crew chief Robbie Reiser doing a nice job of walking his man down pit road. Matt.
Great. Very solid stop, a tick slow leaving, but solid stop by the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Sent his car great down in 1 and 2. Free down in 3 and 4. Chad Knaus also shuffled the air pressure.
It's just no contest there on that 17 car that time. You saw it 13-3. But what is helping him also, his pit selection, the 10 car, Patrick Compartier, is in front of him a lap down. So he's like, has an opening now as he leaves his pit box.
Junior made up a little time at pit stop too.
Picked up 2 spots. Cleaning up in Fort Worth after this third caution of the day. Let's get down to Jeff Hammond, who earlier filed this State Farm safety report.
You're watching the race and your favorite driver gets a speeding penalty. Well, the first thing you say is, dang, we just lost the race, or that NASCAR's picking on him. Well, in fact, NASCAR's just trying to protect the drivers from themselves. But more importantly, they're trying to protect the guys on pit road. Back when speed was unlimited, crashes were severe, crew members were severely injured, some of them even lost their lives. So with the help of commitment cones, timing lines, and timing segments, NASCAR is able to kind of like control the speed on pit road to try to protect everybody. So the next time your driver gets a speeding penalty, at least you'll understand why.
For more information, log on to foxsports.com. Getting set for the restart with Matt Kenseth out in front of Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin. It's our Claret and Clear to Drive restart. Live Claret and Clear indoors and out.
Now, Dick Bergman was telling us during the break there, Carl Edwards in the 99, that group lost about 3 spots on pit road, and I think Robbie is kind of on Carl a little bit about just getting in there a little hotter. But Robbie Reiser is used to Matt Kenseth, who does as good a job as anybody getting in and out of the pits.
Yeah, and he's used to that pit crew too. And even if Matt messes up a little bit, that crew seems to pick up the slack.
Well, Kyle Busch might have got into Junior just a teeny bit there coming off the corner. They were very close. Trying to get off turn 2 together.
Now listen, Kyle Busch might kind of get into a lot of things, you know. Like you saw him pushing Carl down the front straightaway here a little while ago.
I know what he kind of did yesterday after leading the most laps in almost every nationwide series race we've had this year. Finally, he got the victory yesterday driving for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Wild thing, Kyle Busch. He and Dale Jr. fight for third. That battle for the moment settled in favor of Busch.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about that 18, the Toyota. It got some giddy up on the hood. if they ever get it where he's happy with it, I'd say that these boys better watch out.
That was 1 year ago that Dale Earnhardt Jr. hopped into a Hendrick car for the first time. It was late in the race. The car had crashed. The team could not locate Kyle Busch to hop back in it. They asked Dale Jr. if he would relief drive in that Hendrick car. Jr. sought permission from DEI, his team, and they said, well, it's another Chevrolet, go ahead. And he was quite flattered at that invite.
Well, our boys talked about that in the pre-race show, and one of the things they played was Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying after the race, I'm sure the media will make a lot out of this.
Yeah, but what I didn't make out of it, he said it was a compliment. I said, June, the car was wrecked. I said, you know, getting in somebody's wrecked race car, I mean, I didn't know what he could learn, but he did it for his buddies that were on that team. He had a lot of buddies on that team.
And he also said, I remember him saying, no one has ever asked him to relief drive for anyone. They assumed that he wouldn't do it.
He did, and now he drives for Hendrick Motorsports.
I think he is showing his displeasure to Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 car right now. Juan is a lap down, but Juan is trying to get up there to race Kevin Harvick. You see the yellow car, because that would be the battle for the free pass, just like Kurt Busch got the last time.
And we see this week in and week out, and the folks at home got to realize something. That 42 car, Juan is up there trying to stay on in the lucky dog position, so he can't just roll over.
And he's got Dave Blaney in the
right
22 car right behind him. That's a lap down.
So there's, you know, there's races and then there's races.
Well,
a lot of agendas.
It's so hard today to come up and pass the leader and earn your lap back on the racetrack that this race within a race, just like during the last green flag run, where Dave Blaney and Kurt Busch battled and battled and battled, because only one of them could get the free pass.
Exactly. And you only get that opportunity so many times in a race.
Boy, Carl Edwards, that car, we've watched it since the drop of the green flag. If there's one place that is so strong, we just saw it down in the middle of 3 and 4, is when it goes right through the middle and he picks that throttle up.
Well, that's where the people struggle with this car the most, is trying to get it to cut through the middle. So when you do, and your car will, you can make up a lot of time.
Carl Edwards yesterday, along with Casey Kane and 3 or 4 other drivers, went to watch the Supercross in Dallas yesterday afternoon. Wonder if Carl ever got his bicycle unhooked from that fence.
Word on the street is he did.
Okay.
Yeah. But Darrell, what I just saw Carl do off the turn 2, he saw Montoya up there the high side off of turn 2. He rolled out of the throttle because he knew if he stayed in it, that was going to be all the potential. We talked about turn 2 of going up the racetrack and getting into the 42 car. Little give and take there early. That was 185 miles per hour, and that's at the end of the shortest straightaway on the back straightaway.
Down in the lower right, you see Carl is the red square, the leader in green, and the differential between the two is the number that keeps changing inside of the oval. There's Matt Kenseth on point, half a second ahead of Jimmy Johnson.
Now, I don't know if it was our pickup of the engine in that car, but it sounded like it had a little skip in it every once in a while in the 99 car. Hadn't heard any complaints, so probably just our sound breaking up a tad.
Battle for 16. Now let's go back there. Mark Martin, David Gilliland, Paul Menard, all running in a very tight bunch. Now these are all lead lap cars.
And you know, I really want to give a call to that white car right there. David Gilliland in the 38 car, Cully Barraclaw as crew chief. In qualifying the other day, they ended up having to start 41st. They had an oil leak. He really didn't hardly even get a lap in. But if you look at the car, unlike all the other cars, no pretty paint scheme. Still looking for a sponsor on that car. I've talked to Doug Yates. He said they're more than willing to talk to anybody. And he said one thing that he feared, and he wanted me to make sure I sent the message out there, there was talk that Ford was pulling support back. He said Ford is not going anywhere. They are here to stay.
Now behind Gilliland, Paul Menard has had a strong day. He's been a top 20 car all day.
Good in practice yesterday. In the top 5 there for a while. The car looks a little loose right now.
Brian Vickers tracking him in the Toyota, 18th and 19th.
You know, Mike, Darrell and I sat down with Brian Vickers yesterday and just chatted with him a little bit. He's been living on the edge, which the Red Bull athletes tend to live on the edge. He's been parachuting. He's been driving in those Red Bull where they have the air races. He's been doing all kinds of things here lately.
What do you call that? Living on the edge?
Living on the edge, like Hammond. I bet Brian Vickers doesn't have near as many cowboy hats as Hammond does.
Fifth place changes hands. Carl Edwards going past Denny Hamlin. Right up on Dale Jr. for fourth. Now this happens about 6 seconds behind the leaders. Matt?
Mike, 2 laps ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. radioed his team and said, I am just holding on. This car feels like it's just about ready to spin out. It is just so free. The air pressure change that Tony Eury Jr. hasn't really helped it. But you know what? When it rains, it pours. And it's not that bad yet for Junior, but it sure is for that car in front of him. Usually Harvick runs well here. He's had a tough week, Mike. On Monday, the final home opener at Yankee Stadium, Harvick flew up there. Spent 2 hours and 12 minutes in traffic, got to the ballpark, had a hot dog, and they called it for rain. But the good news, the Yankees and Red Sox next Saturday before our race at Phoenix, our baseball game of the week. Should be a stellar matchup, usually is.
Boy, watch Junior in that car. I mean, we just saw him move out of the way. Carl Edwards got right up on his back bumper, and Junior just took off up the racetrack. You see how he's fighting with that wheel?
Sorry, Darrell, Montoya caught the ball between 3 and 4, but just kind of bounced off and kept going.
Blower Alpha, see if it gets off the right front. The blower ain't on. Got the left one on. No blowers, no blowers.
Now you see Junior's drive. Look at where his hands are, Mike. That's old school. That's how we always drove. He just reached up and turned his blower on. Tony Jr. told him to turn the left one on, turn the right one off to help try to tighten the car up. But you see how far around Junior's hands are? That's a slow steering box, an old school kind of a way of racing.
We should explain that blower situation. These guys, they have blowers on the front wheels and tires, and it's not to cool the brakes because, as we've seen with our telemetry, you don't use much brake. But they're blowing them on the tires. What he had him do is what Darrell talked about. If you cut the blower off the right front, it will build more air pressure. If you cut it on the left front, it will not grow as much, and what that differential in left front to right front air pressure will help tighten that car up, putting much more in the right front than the left front.
Back at 13th position, Larry, here's Ryan Newman has just passed Jamie McMurray. Bit of traffic there along with David Reagan. How's Jamie's day going, Kristen?
Okay. You guys mentioned drivers with different agendas, and boy, does that describe Jamie McMurray. His first top 10 last week at Martinsville, that pushed him back into the top 35 in the standings, but he knows he does not have much insurance. His crew chief, Larry Carter, said, Jamie, you've got to be careful. We need a good finish, and right now, his car is loose, really loose, and that's the way he described it on his radio. Jamie also doing his part to support autism awareness, research and support. Jamie, of course, is a charity very near and dear to his heart. Crown Royal donating some of the cars so that they can put the autism puzzle piece on the car here at Texas.
Well, he had that good run at Martinsville. We know that Martinsville has been a good racetrack for Jamie McMurray, and if you look at Texas, he finished in the top 10 in both races here last year, driving for the 26 car. So they had to give him more confidence coming in here, especially locked in the top 35.
Hey, he's setting in good shape. He's setting in 14th spot right now with a long way to go yet.
Only gained 6 positions in the points last week, and he's set to gain another 4 this week where he's running right now. Matt Kenseth leads Jimmy Johnson by 0.7 of a second.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. Welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful.
Matt Kenseth continues to lead Jimmy Johnson by 0.7 of a second. You know, we never intended that Digger would become a t-shirt selling phenomenon, but well, there he is, and now we have Digger t-shirts at dwstore.com or foxsports.com.
It's the hottest thing we've ever had. I was telling you. People are just loving that. Crazy.
Even Carl Spackler. And here come the leaders right there. Matt Kenseth. What a complete turnaround from the way Kenseth ran at Martinsville, where he finished 30th. He's been out in front of this race for 50 laps today. Jimmy Johnson has led 61, and Johnson tracks him right there. Now just half a second back as Matt gets into race traffic.
You know, I think Jeff Hammond hit the nail on the head in the pre-race when Chris Myers asked him about Kenseth being put in the penalty box. I think it's old school racing. The fact that you hit me, I will hit you back. But right now, the biggest problem, Matt Kenseth, that 48 car, Darrell was pointed out to me at commercial break, he is definitely coming.
Of course, that's different in the Earnhardt style. It used to be you hit me once, I'll hit you twice.
Kenseth weaves his way past a couple of lap cars, got past Joe Nemechek there. And here's Steve.
Mike, to follow up on what Larry Mack just said, it's a combination of Jimmy Johnson coming and the 17 of Matt Kenseth going. Kenseth just told his crew chief, Chip Bolin, we're just a little bit too loose all over the racetrack on this set of tires. Bolin said, copy that, just hang with us for a while.
Now you saw the right side of Robbie Gordon's car there as he went by. Well, you see what's left to the right side. No decals, no paint. Just some sheet metal because he has been using up the safer barrier.
He's got it figured out now, though. He rolls in there, gets up against it, and just rides it all the way through the corner.
And you know, Darrell, what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing here, this is the first time that we've ever raced this new car here. And it's like when this race started, everybody was complaining about the cars not turning, a lot like they did yesterday. It's like the track has went through a transition, plus I think adjustments made. Now most everyone's fighting, I'm a little too free, a little too loose.
Yeah, I think it's easier to loosen a car up than it is to tighten it up. And when a driver starts complaining about, I'm pushing, you start getting it where it'll free up a little bit, and it's hard to get it back where it was. I'm not sure why. I think you just over adjust sometimes.
We're 164 laps into this race. We're just almost to halfway. We expected a battle between the Hendrick Chevys, the Gibbs Toyotas, and the Roush Fenway Fords, and haven't been disappointed. Jimmy Johnson's led the most laps. Matt Kenseth trying to hang on to the lead. They, along with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kyle Busch, have been the biggest lap leaders so far. Jeff Gordon never got a handle on his car, fought it, got a lap down, and in danger of going 2 laps down, spun into the wall. He's been in the garage ever since and has lost more than 60 laps. He's the only car in the garage right now.
But Larry, I think, talking about that Hendrick group, you got to hand it to Chad Canals. They were not very good. They were in trouble. What did he do? He went into a full court press. We got to test. We got to figure out what's wrong. They went a lot of places, did a lot of work. Here they are today, right where they used to be.
Yeah, a lot of teams during that Easter weekend off week that we had took long weekends. Certainly they observed the Easter holiday, but they spent most of the days between Bristol and Martinsville, at Kentucky, at Rockingham, at Nashville, testing things.
Chad Canals knew it wasn't going to fix itself.
Nope.
And everybody's gotten better, and we got to go to work, and he did, and man, it's paying off.
2 weeks ago, they were not in the top dozen, and 12 cars make the chase for the Sprint Cup. And where they're running right now would place them in 7th in this race. So a big pickup in the last couple of weeks for Jimmy Johnson, who trails Matt Kenseth by 0.8 of a second ahead of Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, and Denny Hamlin.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by the Ford F-150. Built Ford tough. 161 laps to go. Matt Kenseth, your leader, and has led the most laps, surpassing Jimmy Johnson in that department. In time for an AT&T race break from the Great American Speedway here in Fort Worth, Texas. 6 leaders, 10 different lead changes. We've had 3 cautions so far, and with Matt Kenseth, your leader, he took the lead for the 2nd time earlier today, racing his way out of the pits after leading previously. He's a former winner here in Texas. But let's go back to last week. Larry McReynolds mentioned the incident at Martinsville short track racing, and in the 38 car, that's David Gilliland in the circle, in the circle with Kenseth, and you see how he knocks Kenseth up and out. So Matt Kenseth later, once he got back to racing, returning the favor and tapping him. Kenseth was black flagged, penalized a couple of laps, and now has fought his way back into the lead. And Jeff Hammond, it's something that when we talked to him, he said, hey, what NASCAR wants us to show our emotion. I showed my emotion.
He definitely did that right there, Chris. I mean, I said it earlier, old school racing. You hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And right now, we got trouble on the racetrack. We can see J.J. Yaley in the 96 car, hard crash to the inside. Not looking very good for the 96.
This has been an AT&T race break. Our fourth caution is out. Let's head back upstairs to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
J.J. Yaley at his sponsor's home track. We'll go to his home track next week in Phoenix Saturday night under the lights, but he's taken a pretty hard hit as the safety workers don't have far to go to come to his aid. Let's see what happened to his Toyota.
Just came up off turn 2, and the car just broke dead loose with him, Darrell.
And that's that sort of that transition area out of the banking onto the straightaway. And if your car is a little marginal, if it's already a little bit loose, they'll snap around like that in that area.
See that heavy damage to the left front. That area he impacted, I believe, does not have the safer barrier as we have on the outside wall here.
Sure,
so that's a hard lick for JJ.
Anytime you hit on the left side, this car is a little more forgiving than our old car because of the roll cage being moved to the left and the driver's seat being moved to the right. You got a little more crush there than what we used to have, but still, that's a hard lick.
Remember our keys to the race? Beware of turn 2. And it has reached up there and grabbed J.J. Yaley in the 96 car.
As Chris mentioned, it's the fourth caution of the day. Comes at lap 177. And that is just about 40 laps since we last went green. Michael McDowell had that bad crash Friday in qualifying. The car impacting the safer barrier hard, flipping 8 times. He climbed out, waved to the crowd, and was okay. Steve Burns.
Leader Matt Kenseth told Chip Bowen, his crew chief, my car feels slidey loose. You need to tighten my entry. So they're going to go half around a wedge in the left rear. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch in the 18, he's going to get a track bar adjustment down to Krista.
Tony Stewart says his car, the exit, it's giving up just a bit, but he's okay with that. He said he still needs that rotation air pressure adjustment. That's the call to try to get the Home Depot car turning. Dick.
Carl Edwards pits out of the 4th position where he had been running. He picked up a couple of spots after the last green flag, asked for more grip and a cold bottle of water, Matt.
Very solid stop for the 48 guys. Now the rear tire changer, Jeremy West, slipped in the fuel as he came around the left side of the car. Just slightly cost a little bit of time, losing 4 spots, but Chad Knaus trying to fix the combo platter of issues for Jimmie Johnson, both tight and loose, especially off turn 2.
JJ Yaley is, excuse me, Larry, JJ's out of his car. He is okay. There's JJ, uninjured in that hard crash to the inside retaining wall. Let's put us under the 4th caution of the day here in Texas.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Applebee's. It's a whole new neighborhood. By the Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse. By the new AT&T, your world delivered. And by Aflac. Aflac and Carl Edwards want you to be an all-star.
Unrest has existed since the Babe Ruth trade.
One of the fiercest rivalries in all of sports. Unbelievable. Oh, my goodness. The hero in Game 7. Baratek and A-Rod going at it. We'll see you later tonight.
It should be a great afternoon at Fenway.
Yankees, Red Sox, or Rockies at Diamondbacks. Let's see. That's in Phoenix, Darrell.
Yes, and
starting
we'll be there.
Yeah, Wednesday night, Friday night. Take us out to the ball game.
I'm going Friday night.
Friday night.
Yes, sir. Me and
sounds like a great idea.
All of us are going.
All right.
In fact, one night earlier in the week, J.J. Yaley, who just brought that caution out, he's actually going to throw the first pitch out for the ball game.
That'd be Wednesday night, I believe.
At Chase Field.
Yeah. Baseball on Fox Saturday, and Saturday night NASCAR on Fox. Kevin Harvick got the free pass on that restart, so he used the 24th place car. Back on the lead lap. Montoya fighting with Kenseth. Whoa! Big slide by Juan.
Juan's a
lap down. Look at the cars that Matt Kenseth that's going to lose a position. He's going to go all the way back to about 5th or 6th, battling with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88.
Well, Hammond, wonder if Matt thinks because Juan hit him, he should go up and return the favor.
Not sure I'd do that here.
Well, but the thing is, though, guys, we've been seeing guys beat and bang on each other all day long. So, undoubtedly, they're not scared of the speed here at Texas. And but I still wouldn't want to make Matt Kenseth mad.
Oh, no. J.J. Yaley has been released from the care center. He is okay, as we reported. That's good news as we Get a look from our DirecTV blimp at the cars going around Texas Motor Speedway. Get NASCAR Hot Pass only on DirecTV. Here's Steve.
Mike with J.J. Yaley, and J.J., you got a smile on your face, but what happened to get you out of the race?
I ran out of talent. I just got real loose. We put a rubber right here, and it just hurt the forward bite, and just trying to get all I could get. I know the leader was coming, and just got loose off on 2 there and couldn't save it. Locked it up, hoping that I get some speed scrubbed off before I hit the fence. And not a good day for DLP or Toyota. We're in a bad points right now, and this doesn't help.
Good luck in your hometown of Phoenix next week.
You know, that's the one thing that never ceases to amaze me. Car wreck, driver doesn't feel real good. We lost points. That's all you think about. We didn't talk about money. We didn't talk about it. We lost points.
Well, when you're outside the top 35 or near to be, I guess that is what you think about. Right now, Yaley would be 33rd the way they're running right now. Let's watch this restart. Matt Kenseth, the leader. Montoya, the black car, trying to get back on the lead lap.
Montoya just got real loose when he picked the throttle up over on turn 2. I'm sure a lot to do with low air pressure on fresh tires.
I'm telling you, Matt Kenseth is lucky that Juan was able to save that car, because that could have been big.
Cost Matt a lot of spots. He lost the lead, dropped back to 4th. Kyle Busch leads this race once again.
That had losing your race car written all over it. If, you know, Juan's got great car control. He showed it there.
Carl Edwards in 2nd, Hamlin 3rd, then Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson.
You know, 2 cars we should certainly mention. We mentioned their teammate a while ago, Kevin Harvick, in the 29 car. He's back on the lead lap. We've been talking about Jeff Burton. We've been watching him closely. Started back in the 35th position. He has worked his way now into the top 10. He's in 8th. And in his teammate, Clint Boyer, who Jeff Hammond did a little monster truck driving with earlier in the week, Clint Boyer in the 07 is back in the 9th position right behind Jeff Burton.
Here's Dick.
Well, to finish first, you first have to finish. And as of now, Jeff Burton has run every single lap in 2008 Sprint Cup competition. That's over 2,200 laps. And as Larry McReynolds just said, he has passed a lot of cars going from 35th all the way up to the 8th position, despite the fact that he has said all day long that the car lacks the grip that he would like to have. And they went into the race concerned about a lack of grip. But the driver's doing a great job. They're doing well on pit road. Jeff Burton inside the top 10.
I just think that's where Burton is such an asset to his team. He got up there where he wants to be now. He's going to work on his car for a while. He's going to keep giving information to the crew, making some adjustments. He's setting up for the shootout at the end of the day.
Now you saw the Montoya Kenseth dust up on the restart. We talk about Texas not being a place where you want to retaliate. But before that caution flag, Sam Hornish, the 77, had a little too much of David Rudiman in the 44. And watch those 2 cars in this sequence that we taped prior to this last caution flag.
Well, I see why now, though. David just pulled down to block Sam as they were going down the back straightaway. Now, David's on the lead lap. Sam isn't. And David didn't want the 77 in his way, and almost got in his way big time.
But here's what both of those cars have to think about. We've been talking about the danger zone. We talked about J.J. Yaley. Both those cars are outside the top 35 coming into this race. They don't need to mess around and cause a problem here.
Well, that was definitely messing around, and the curtain air caused the problem.
But you're right. Both those cars need to finish, and right now Rudiman and Hornish would be in the top 35, and the importance of that is it means you're locked into the field next week at Phoenix. If your car owner points are below 35th, it means you have to make the race on time.
But look at that, 509, 508, 505, and then 6 points back to 36.
Oh, it's tight.
So the cars that would fall out as of right now, we still got a lot of racing to go. 145 laps would be the 70 of Jeremy Mayfield and the 01 of Regan Smith. They came in here locked in the top 35. That's going to be a battle, a big battle. We'll watch all the way to the checkered flag at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Kyle Busch back in front of this race. We mentioned 10 Toyotas in the field. Only 3 made this race last year. And the 3 Gibbs cars at the top of the Toyota top performer list as we close up on 200 laps. Four caution flags, the last one cleaned up, just about 11 laps to go. We may get to go green flag racing for a while here in Texas. Kyle Busch leading Carl Edwards by 0.6 of a second.
see that twist coming. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
"24 cars on the lead lap. This north of Fort Worth, Texas. Kyle Busch leading Carl Edwards now by 1 second. As we cross 200 laps here, about 4 more to go to the 200 mark.
Oh boy!
You want to ride along? We've got ride along, Darrell.
Let me see if I can explain this. I do think, though, you look at Tony Stewart, look at Michael. If you just here's Tony Stewart. Watch how he was fighting with the wheel, and he's not real happy with his race car. But you go back down here, look at Jimmy Johnson. Look how nice and smooth he is with his car. Look at Clint Boyer. I mean, he's juking all over the place down here. And it's interesting. And look at the different hand. Here, look at Dale Jr. His hand's way over there. Look at Michael. His hands are way over there. But then these guys up here, Tony, he's up here. He's up here. They're just all over the place. And you might say, well, big deal. What's all that mean? It just shows you, look how relaxed some of the drivers are as they drive their cars and how tense looking. Look at Jeff Burton. He's just in there. He's just kind of laid back, cooling it. Jimmy Johnson over here, he's going fast and he's fighting with it.
Darrell, I want to follow up on something that you and Jeff Hammond talked about in the pre-race, this new car being about 2.5 inches taller. Look how much distance is here between Casey Kane and the roof of that car. Take the tall guy, Michael Waltrip, even a ton of distance there between his head in that roof and the halo bar you talked about. That's another great thing about this new car.
All right, and circle gets the square as we move on. Kyle Busch the leader, Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson. Let's go to Paul Linda Block. Or Denny Hamlin, who's 4th, ahead of Matt Kenseth.
Blocking's not good at racing.
You know, we have 9 onboard cameras in this race, and 8 of those 9 drivers are within the top 11 positions. Coincidence? I think not. Good choices. Mark Martin in 13th position, back behind the wheel after Eric Almirola had his turn. They are sharing this ride in Mark's semi-retirement, if you will. And I'm told he gave back the rocking chair we gave him a couple of seasons ago for announcing his retirement.
He don't need no stinking rocking chair,
No.
apparently.
Just ahead of him, Ryan Newman. Now, Newman's been a pretty much top 12 car all day. At the start of the race, he tried the high side, lost a bunch of spots for it, but he's maintained right in the top dozen all afternoon.
And that's kind of been his norm ever since they left Daytona, talking about Ryan Newman. He won the Daytona 500. He's just kind of been a top 15 car since that race.
Casey Kane in the 11th spot. He's the highest Dodge in the race. Outside the top 10, though.
And a guy that continues to go backwards is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car. In fact, he was just passed by Tony Stewart in the 20. They have definitely got off on the adjustments on that 88 car.
I think Dale Jr. needs to work harder on giving Tony Jr. good feedback. I don't know. There's something going on, and it went on with this team before. It's gone on with this team before. The driver's got to do his part. He's got to tell him what he needs and what he wants, and then let the crew kind of help him.
What's he been saying, Matt?
The handling definitely going south. It's getting tighter and tighter in the center of the corner, but yet it's getting more and more free on entry. Tony Jr. told Dale Jr. that he made a significant air pressure adjustment to try to get a little closer to what their teammate, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson's running, just to get an idea of maybe a direction they may want to go later in the race.
And, you know, just to clarify this air pressure deal, we're not talking about a big change. You know, in your passenger car, you could change the air pressure 10 pounds and maybe not feel the difference. These guys, because these tires are a spring rate, they change the air pressure quarter pound, half pound, and will make a difference in the way that car drives.
I just always relate it to a basketball. If you air up a basketball, you get the right inflation, it bounces nice. Overinflated, bounces out of the ball, off the court. Underinflated, it just goes dead. And that's kind of the way these tires are. They're like little basketballs that you're constantly trying to get the right air pressure in.
There's Tony Stewart ninth. Clint Boyer has been a top 10 car for much of this day. He currently runs in 8th after watching his Jayhawks blow out North Carolina last night in the Final Four. Krista?
Mike, Clint Boyer has had a wild weekend. We documented his monster truck experience with Jeff Hammond. Yes, he was watching his Kansas Jayhawks last night, and he was doing it from the Supercross event. Another of the drivers who took in Supercross here in Dallas. Clint, a big Supercross fan. He used to ride motorcycles. His brother, Andy Boyer, is actually a motorcycle journalist. He writes for Racer X Illustrated, Racer X Magazine. And you know, Clint, another part of his wild weekend, in the first practice here at the track, he got a little loose. He went for a little ride. The crew joked that he had to make an underwear change. And Mike, DW, Larry, if I'm talking underwear, I have to be brief.
Oh, no. How about Martin Truex in the 7th position?
And he's just been solid all day long. Started back in 12th. As you made note, Mike, he lost some spots with the drop of the green flag, but then the car really came into him. And, you know, Martin has 5 starts here in Sprint Cup. All 5 of those finishes, top 15 finishes. Pretty decent racetrack for Truex, who comes in here 13th in the points.
Now about 2.5 seconds in front of Truex is Jeff Burton. We've documented his day. Had a great car, he thought, but a horrible qualifying run. Couldn't explain it, but wasn't too worried about it either. And he came out of, what, 35th position? And he's been up in the top 10 ever since he got there.
Oh, I think we could classify him as biding his time. I don't think we've heard the last of that 31 car when it comes crunch time.
He said he wasn't worried about starting back in 33rd. He said, I don't consider myself a great qualifier. I start back there a lot. I just don't want to finish back there.
I think he's accomplished exactly what he wanted to at this point in this race. He got himself up in the top 5 or 6 here. He's got the leaders in sight. Car's pretty good. Let's ride a while.
How about Matt Kenseth, Larry? He has led the most laps in this race, 68 so far. He's led 3 times.
And they've gotten maybe just a little bit off it. It may not be that they have gotten off it, just may be that Kyle Busch in the 18, Carl Edwards in the 99, some of those cars are getting better. Right now, Matt Kenseth, as we're getting within about 12 to 15 laps of our next green flag stop, Matt is about 8 seconds behind leader Kyle Busch.
These drivers and these teams have done a good job of changing their cars for track conditions, because early in the race we were approaching near 33-second laps, and right now these cars are lapping around here in the mid 32-second laps, 32.3 to 32.4. So they've made these cars better all day long.
And based on the last time we had green flag stops, I would anticipate the car we just saw, Denny Hamlin in 11, he'll be one of the first cars to hit pit road.
Now there's a big gap from Hamlin to Jimmy Johnson, 4 seconds. Johnson is just 1.2 seconds behind leader Kyle Busch right now.
And we're getting a report that the track is now went over 100 degrees in track temperature. We've been talking about grip, not having grip. The higher it gets, the less grip you're going to have.
And I think you just watched that 48 car come off the corner. These cars are hard to drive. I think every driver out there will tell you that this new car is much harder to drive than the old car was. These cars slide around a lot, but because of that big rear wing back there, you can hang them out a little bit more and not spin them out.
Kyle Busch the leader, and Carl Edwards is closing in on Kyle.
Well, Mike, a little maturity shown by Kyle Busch. He just said, guys, I'm setting the table. I'm going to be there at the end. But his issue with the race car is he's a little bit tight in the center. Remember, he's been loose in and loose off most of the race. So as Larry Mack said, the track is changing.
Well, think about Kyle Busch. Every weekend almost so far, he's run either the Saturday race and the Sunday race. A few times he's run the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday race. Think back to Atlanta, and I remember Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon saying, man, I feel like I ran 1,000 miles. But guess what? Kyle Busch did.
That's right.
You know what, Mike? Darrell's going to love this one here. They're going to make this pit stop with probably right about 100 to 105 laps to go. That's right there, just barely being able to make it on one more stop.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. That's an American revolution.
218 laps complete. Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch battled in race traffic, with Edwards ending up with the lead. Here's how it happened. Robbie Gordon just ahead. That opened the door.
Darrell, it's almost like he was trying to pinch the car down because the 7 car there, and the car just came around with him.
Well, the 18 car has really gotten loose. I've been watching him off turn 4. and that thing is hung out some kind of, I mean, the back ends, I can see the side of the car when he comes off turn 4.
Kyle now drops to third and comes back after Jimmy Johnson.
Again, we want to stress we're within about an 8 to 10 lap window of a pit stop.
Well, you've got company now on Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot at foxsports.com. Tony Stewart is part of the panel. They'll answer your NASCAR questions anywhere, anytime, 24/7. Go to foxsports.com, Ask the Pros, and go to the Home Depot to get your NASCAR Day pins. Make a $5 donation for your pin, and those donations will go to Autism Speaks, the organization that's supported by Fox Sports and our Fox Sports supports. So a couple of good causes will benefit there. Jeff Gordon is back on track. He's 108 laps behind the leader and using the rest of this race as a test session.
I just don't see this, because right now he is not even running in the 32-second bracket. I know one of his goals is to stay out of everyone's way and not cause a problem. I'm just not sure what you're going to learn here. The only thing they're trying to do right now is hope that attrition will take care of some cars and they can gain some positions. And right now we really only have one car officially out of the race, the 96 car, J.J. Yaley. John Andretti's in the garage.
Yeah, he just said it's no different, and we could see that he had new tires on. He couldn't outrun guys with old tires.
I think it helps the entry, but once it gets loaded up in the corner, I'm way loose.
So Jeff Gordon many laps down, and Likewell will finish this race worse than 40th position.
Yeah, they just threw something at it. Larry went back out there to try it real quick. I think he'll load her up.
Carl Edwards continues to lead Jimmy Johnson now by 1.3 seconds.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Hmm. 106 laps to go in the Samsung 500 at Texas Motor Speedway. Carl Edwards extending his lead over Jimmy Johnson 1.4 seconds. And pit stops among the leaders. Denny Hamlin
as
again
anticipated, the first car to hit pit road. Actually, David Gilliland was the very first car just a lap ago, but here's Denny Hamlin in the 11 car, who will give up a top 10 finish or top 10 run here, Matt, to hit pit road.
Larry, a lot of conversation back and forth between Mike Ford and Denny. Denny says he wants to keep the track bar pretty much down. It's helping him with a forward bite issue. He would prefer a small air pressure and wedge adjustment to try to help the race car, but they are going to make some significant changes on this 11. Let's go further up pit road to Steve.
Matt, Kyle Busch says, I don't have any front grip and I don't have any rear grip either. He said, please give me a track bar adjustment, adjust with air, whatever you can. I have no grip, Dick.
On the other hand, Carl Edwards has a very good car. The car is better on the top of the racetrack than it is on the bottom, but it's pretty good in both places. Krista.
Before Clint Boyer came in, his crew chief Gil Martin said whatever you did to run that 58, you need to do it again. You have to focus. They were planning on staying out till lap 234. They came in when the rest of them did for a 4-tire change. Matt.
Very important pit stop for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, guys. Pulls to a stop, basically says huge disappointment over the last run is how far the handling has faded on this race car. He says the front is solid, absolutely pushing, and yet he has no rear grip. The car just all over the racetrack. Steve?
Matt Kenseth on pit road. He said, I have burned off the right rear. I am real loose. He said, you fixed the entry for me, but please make a track bar adjustment. Krista.
Tony Stewart had come in. He said he was open for suggestions. His car, terrible, and that's the word he used. Zippy said they would make a big change on this stop. Tony is down and away.
Jimmy Johnson picked up the lead, and now he makes his pit stop. That surrendered the lead to Jamie McMurray, who you see coming onto pit road. Jimmy getting service in front of Matt.
Rich Gutierrez, the gas man, inserts the second can of Sunoco fuel. Stop going on. Jimmy says the car not as bad. It's still tight through the center, loose on entry, but they've made so much headway, Krista.
For Jamie McMurray, the call, a quarter round of wedge out. Jamie McMurray also taking 4 tires. They're just looking for a solid run, trying to stay in that top 35.
Now McMurray picked up the lead, Krista, but because his pit was in front of the start-finish line, he didn't lead a lap officially.
careful. He will not get those 5 points. It could end up being very valuable to him, considering he's right there just inside that danger zone. But I just want to stress the first of these stops, they came with about 106 laps to go. That's 53 laps to run. That's just right there on top of a fuel window. But I think maybe the race pace has slowed down enough. Most of them she'll be able to do it on one stop.
I believe he can do it, Larry. I'm not worried about that.
You never are. That's my job.
55 laps. I can do that easy.
Carl Edwards back in the lead after green flag pit stops in Texas.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is delivered by UPS, the official express delivery company of NASCAR.
UPS delivers up-to-the-minute race information at foxsports.com. Keyword Fox Tracks. Jeremy Mayfield just got a pit road penalty, stop and go, for removing equipment from the pit box on his stop.
In the test session for the 24 car continues. He went back out on the racetrack, made a couple laps, went back to the garage area. Now again, this race is 95 laps from being over, but Jeff Gordon made his 516th career start here. This is his 16th full-time season in Sprint Cup. It started in November of '92, and he has only finished dead last one time, and it was here in 1999. He's flirting with that again today, Jeff Hammond.
Guys, you were talking about, wow, look at Carl Edwards. He's in a hurry. He said, Juan Pablo, I'm coming through. He gave him a little love tap, and around he went. But talking about the 24 car, and everybody's saying, well, you know, why is he out there doing that? Think about it like this, guys. They can't come back here and test, and the next time they see this racetrack, if everything goes according to plan, he'll wind up getting into the chase. And that might be the only reason they're trying to get enough information about this car so that if they get in the chase, they won't come back to Texas and run as bad as they're running today.
Well, Jeff, he's back in the garage right now. They may make some further changes and send him back out, but it's doubtful that he'd pick up more than one position because only one car, J.J. Yaley's, is out of the race.
When you look at the number of top 10s and top 5s and wins that he had last year, and in the success he had in this car, this new car, how in the world could you get yourself in this shape?
Now, Michael McDowell just went a fifth lap down to race leader Carl Edwards. That is McDowell's backup car, and I think Michael is just lucky to be racing today after the accident that he had on Friday. McDowell said he was conscious throughout the flips and was mad that now they'd have to go to backup car. Climbed out unhurt, waved to the crowd, hopped in the backup car the next day for practice.
And that sound you heard, that's ambient sound. We didn't pipe that in. No. That's the sound that we were able to pick up from all of our different microphones in car and others. That's the noises and the sounds that car was making as it went down the racetrack. And
I don't think we can stress enough, regardless of where this team finishes today, just for him to come in here and run this entire race would be a huge accomplishment. This is only his second Sprint Cup Series race. He made his first start in Martinsville last weekend.
As we watch McDowell's replay, Greg Biffle made what looked to be an unscheduled pit stop. Matt, what happened?
Mike, he came on the radio and said, I have a vibration, loose wheel. Going to cost him dearly here. Had a very solid run going for the Biff.
He falls off the lead lap and drops to 25th position. Biffle was 14th when he came to pit road.
Yeah, that's a shame because Greg's really been doing a good job. And as we documented early, he is he's up there and high in the points, and this is a bad blow for him.
You know, I'd like to bring Jeff Hammond in on a conversation here. Jeff, it just seems like week in and week out we have more loose lug nuts. I just don't think the fans can understand how quick these guys are trying to change 4 tires, as I mentioned earlier, with each wheel having 5 lug nuts, not 1.
You're exactly right, Larry. And the thing is, we try to coach these kids, and they practice all the time, you know, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on. But when you try to go fast, the adrenaline's rushing, and you realize how much pressure's on you because we're documenting how you can lose so much time on pit road that sometimes they just get so fast that it hurts them. You need to slow down and make sure you do it correctly.
Jeff, you jacked. I mean, how much responsibility, how much of that falls not so much on the tire changer, but on the jack man as well? It's supposed to be kind of helping watch those things.
I used to always say it was my responsibility for whatever went wrong, not only as a crew chief, but as the jack man. You know, you're there, you're looking at it. When you want to get back in a position and see these guys hit all 5 nuts and feel comfortable that they've got them good and tight. I mean, that's the thing is, right, those lug nuts are so important when it comes to the safety of this race car, and if they're not properly tightened up, not only can you damage the race car, you can hurt your driver and a fellow competitor. So, to me, huge responsibility on the changers themselves, but more so the guys who jack these cars up and down need to make sure that they're doing that the changers are doing the proper job.
Good point, Jeff. Let's take you back to 12th place, the battle between David Gilliland, who stayed on the lead lap all day for Doug Yates, and Ryan Newman, who at the start of the season won the Daytona 500 for Roger Penske. Penske, always the innovator, brought a Cup car to Pocono back in the 70s with wheels on it that only had 3 lug nuts. NASCAR said, never mind, don't ever bring that back again. They wouldn't let him race it. Certainly it would have been an advantage, but NASCAR said no.
There's 2 questions I get asked a lot by the fans. Why do we not go to 1 lug nut, and why do we not go to hydraulic jacks? To me, what goes on pit road, that's part of our sport. It's part of NASCAR. It's those guys changing 4 tires. It's that jack man running around that car. It just makes a pit stop special.
Yeah. The way NASCAR explained that to me is we need to have a certain number of variables in the competition. And hitting those lug nuts, getting those tires on, and getting that car in the air and down, those are variables.
This is a team sport. So, you know, you got to have teammates and team members, and that's part of the team.
Our team is taking us to commercial with 84 laps to go here in Texas. Carl Edwards out in front by 5.8 seconds.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by State Farm, where great coverage meets great rates. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. That's an American revolution. By Burger King, who reminds you to have it your way. And by Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff.
120 laps to go in Fort Worth, Texas. Carl Edwards with a handy lead, 5.5 seconds. 2 competitors fall by the wayside with 120 miles to go. David Rudiman has just come onto pit road overheating. They're going to open up a little more air to the grill on his car. And Greg Biffle, who stopped earlier with a vibration. They were hoping it was just a loose wheel. It was not. Biffle's lost the engine and gone to the garage.
And if you're Carl Edwards, the worst thing you could hear right now is your teammate just had an engine problem.
And the other thing may be the 48 car just went by Kyle Busch in the 18. That was for 2nd place. And just going back to Carl Edwards, remember the last time we were at a 1.5 mile racetrack, spanking him about like he's doing right now? Engine failure.
Yep. Well, and it was at another 500-mile race. And I stress that all the time. I just don't think people maybe get a real good sense about how difficult it is to build these things to run 500 miles the way we race them now.
Edwards, though, is building on that advantage. That's because of the brief side-by-side battle between Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch for 2nd.
My man Junior, where did he go anyway? We were up there fighting for the lead, picked him to win the race, loves this place. What in the world happened, Matt?
D, that's exactly what Junior would like to know right now. He says the goal, if we're lucky, is to finish in the top 10. We're going to have to take a big swing and some changes because although the entry is slightly better, the car is just so tight in the center of the corner, absolutely will not turn, and it shows on the stopwatch and in the running order. He's faded all the way back to 14th.
I think his biggest problem right now is stay on the lead lap. I tell you, here comes Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch. They're not that far behind him, and Carl Edwards is ahead of them.
And just remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr. came in here 4th in the points, working on the heels of 4 consecutive top 10 finishes. And as you say, there's the distance there.
Yeah.
Just the distance between the middle of 3 and 4 and going into 3 from him going a lap down.
Yeah, there's 1 car between he and Carl right now, and that's Kevin Harvick. So he's got big trouble.
Carl Edwards humming along. We listened in.
We're right there on fuel, so whatever you can save here would be really good. Don't get me wrong, it's not a big deal, but if you can save a little bit just in case it would go green all the way to the end, that would be the thing to do. Yeah, I mean, I know how
you do things. I'll save a little bit.
See, what Robbie's worried about is not the 500 miles. It's in case there was a green-white checkered and he wanted to be able to stay out. Then he'd like to have a little reserve there.
And just remember, the reason Robbie Reiser is on this pit box is Bob Osborne, after the Las Vegas win with the oil tank lid, suspended for 6 weeks. Chris Andrews looking after Carl Edwards in the 99 car on Friday and Saturday. Robbie Reiser coming in on Saturday, or in the case in Phoenix next week on Saturday night, to pretty much call the race.
I just wish I could call Carl right now and say, Carl, I really did pick you to win the race. I really didn't think Junior had it.
Well, he said you could call him anytime.
I don't think I'll
Maybe
call
not
him right
now.
Not right now.
This is 5th place. Matt Kenseth and Clint Boyer. Boyer's car's been very loose off turn 4. He's had to toss and catch it and save it on several occasions here, but he continues to try and make it work on the bottom as they come off side by side. Woo. Crossover.
I tell you, these cars, they definitely are a handful. Watching up here, watching them come off turn 4, there's very few cars that come off of there straight. At some point in time, the driver's got to correct for the car being in a slide.
You know, going back to what Robbie Reiser was telling Carl Edwards, and again, if we get a caution, this will completely throw all this out the window. But when I look at our top 3 cars, Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch, they were on pit road at lap 229. That's 105 laps to go. That means they have to make a run of 52 and 53 laps to make it to the end. But then when you look at Jimmy Johnson, he made his pit stop at lap 232. And Dick Berggren, that means Jimmy Johnson did it with 102 to go. He just has to run 51 laps each run.
Well, I'm kind of keeping an eye on Jeff Burton right now, Larry. Burton had motored all the way up to the pit spot, stayed there for quite a while, but just has had trouble all day long with grip and not enough of it. And he has just lost 2 spots and said the car is getting worse and just plain sliding around on the racetrack. Steve?
Well, Dick DW was talking about these cars being a handful. Kyle Busch is really frustrated right now. He said, I cannot move around this racetrack at all. He wants to reverse the changes they made on the last stop, and his crew chief, Steve Addington, working hard to keep Kyle focused late in this race.
Darrell, when you lose confidence in the car, do you overcompensate for some of the things the car's not doing well, and you're nowhere near as fast as when the car was working well?
Well, I think with Kyle Busch, one thing that I've seen different from this year than last is he would have wrecked that car by now. This year, he's learned that, okay, I'm going to slow down. I'm not happy. The car is moving all over the place, as you can see, but he's hanging on to it. And that's the maturity he has this year over last year.
And they may only get one more chance to make this thing right, and that pit stop's going to be within about the next 15 to 18 laps. And there's Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 car going a lap down here with 68 laps to go.
Trying to become only the 2nd driver to win from the pole here, and to become the first Hendrick driver to win this season. And Dale Jr. goes 1 lap down.
Yeah, Casey Kane won from a pole here in 06, and that's the only time that's happened, and doesn't look like it's going to happen today.
Carl Edwards has stepped out to a 6.8 second lead in Texas.
Green flag, green flag. Tony, he gains a car, then I gain a car. Then he gains a car, then I gain a car. Real loose, just real loose. Power play. Nice. Good, I'm good. In a way, you're fine. Come on. That's it, bud. Just one at a time. Every action has a reaction there, bud.
62 laps to go in Texas. Carl Edwards has not had a top 10 finish here since his 2005 win. But he woke up this morning the favorite to win this race. He is not disappointed. He has 7.5 seconds now on 2nd place Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, he's just like he's been on these mile-and-a-half racetracks. He's in a league of his own right now.
You know, as we close in on what might be our 3rd green flag pit stop of the day, Dick Berggren pointed something out to us at break, and I don't want to let this race go away without pointing this out. The last time we were at a mile-and-a-half racetrack, Goodyear got beat to pieces about their tire at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The man that finished 2nd beat him up about it. Tony Stewart, the fans beat him up. A lot of the competitors beat him up. But you know what? We are at a faster racetrack than Atlanta Motor Speedway, and what an awesome tire the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company brought here for the nationwide race and the Sprint Cup race.
Like I said after that race, look, they build 30. We have 36 races. Every now and then they miss it, but not very often. And when they do, I think instead of beating them up, I mean, you know, they obviously, I went to work. They did what Chad Knaus did. They went to work. They knew they were coming here. They wanted to come here with something better, and they did.
Jimmy Johnson hustling, trying to gain on Carl Edwards there, and he sees Carl kind of slipping away in the distance.
And see, normally Carl Edwards and Robbie Reiser would be in the catbird seat by leading this race by over 8 seconds. But as we get closer and closer to what I think is the magic number, lap 281, which is pretty much 53 laps to go, they could normally wait till everyone else pits, and then they could pit. But what they've got to do is they've got to get to that fuel window where they can make it like everyone else, and then you've got to hit pit road.
Well, Larry, Goodyear brought a different construction left side tire and a different compound of rubber on the right side, came up with the right combination. So high marks to the Goodyear engineers for what combination they brought here to Texas. You saw the 38 of Gilliland had been up against the wall, and he's going to get 4 tires, and he'll have to make another stop before this one's over.
He was the first car to pit under green our last cycle of green flag stops. And then remember, Denny Hamlin, the 11 car, that's the car we're watching because he's been the other first car to hit pit road in that Toyota.
But both of those Yates cars, the 38 and the 28, are in the top 20, or they were until the 38 just pit.
But
Gilliland.
What a topsy-turvy year. Here's Denny Hamlin. Right now he's 1 position behind Kyle Busch. Who would have guessed 7 races into the season that Tony Stewart is right now the lowest ranked of the Gibbs cars, and that Hamlin and Kyle Busch have won races? And who would have guessed that Rick Hendrick and his team had not yet won a race? Been a lot of surprises to this season.
Yeah, but you know, I look at Tony, and I think we mentioned this the other day. He's always a slow starter.
Right.
It's middle of the summer before he really kicks in and gets going. And so the fact that he's just kind of hanging around, that's not too bad right now. But you know, how do you know when you got good tires? We don't ever talk about them.
That's right.
Yeah, Mike, we've been talking all week of Tony Stewart, the 20 car, his 32 Cup victories. Only 4 have come before June. 0 in February, 1 each in March and April, and only 2 in May of those 32 wins for the 20 car. Tony Stewart right now sitting in the 9th position, and right now he's only about 4 to 5 seconds from going a lap down to Carl Edwards.
Well, I checked up on it.
This weekend, Tony announced the Prelude to the Dream will again be held at Eldora Speedway, their track he owns in Ohio. A lot of top stars from Cup racing will be there, and through pay-per-view he hopes to raise $1 million for Victory Junction Gang Camp this year.
Now Kevin,
I'm gonna do my part.
Can't wait.
He'll drive the water truck. Kevin Harvick in the 29 car, who had just went a lap down, got the free pass earlier in the race. Right now he's hitting pit road here with about 54 laps to go.
Larry, I guess this would be right on the edge of being able to make it if we stay green.
I really believe if these guys go another lap or 2, which it looks like that they will. I know the 48 car Jimmy Johnson can. Jeff, if they go another lap or 2, I think that they're going to be safe. But now here comes Kyle Busch in the 18 car, who actually got held up by the 55 car of Michael Waltrip just a little bit on the entrance.
Yeah, not much, because Michael's pitting before him, got out of his way, but they came on pit road at the same time.
Steve.
And guys, Kyle Busch is really struggling right now. He said, guys, I am spinning out. They reversed a track bar adjustment, made a wedge adjustment, and added air to both front tires.
Stevie is spinning out, but at this point in the run, every car is. Jimmy Johnson, I mean, even the 99 car of Edwards, they come off turn 4, they are hung out big time.
Martin Truex in, and he was a top 10 car. He made this stop. Denny Hamlin has come in, and Carl Edwards we expect next time by to make his final stop of the day. Jeff Burton's on pit road. Here comes Tony Stewart. Big crowd coming.
Now Kyle Busch ran 52 laps our last time. He's got to run 53 laps this time.
Matt?
And the 1 of Martin Truex Jr., his car was tight. Meanwhile, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, last week's winner, his car, he says he needs to be a little tighter.
Dick.
And the 48, no, let's go to Dick.
Carl Edwards pitched out of the lead, and he had a big lead. They have been flawless on pit road all day long. Edwards has driven the car absolutely perfectly. They have had just the right adjustments on this automobile. Edwards, 4 tires on, he's gone. Matty.
a track bar, wedge, and air pressure change for Jimmy Johnson. Chad Canals was thinking about short pitting, meaning pitting right at the edge of the window, but due to the fact the deficit was 9 seconds, he wanted to play conservative and stay in the 99 cycle. Krista.
Clint Boyer had worked his way into the top 5. He may be the car to beat. They are good, and they called for no adjustments.
Pit road remains busy as these green flag stops continue.
I just believe that all of these guys can make it from here. Just based on what they've run the other 2 green flag runs, it just depends on what the race pace does right here.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in. Harpontier coming out. David Reagan, who's had a good race, and Paul Menard. Blaney is in. Mike Skinner, Bobby Labonte, Scott Riggs. Carl Edwards reassumes the lead as the pole sitter comes to his pit box.
Right here.
Matt.
Close call with the 66 entering his pit box, but Dale Earnhardt Jr., what a day he has seen. He's led laps, he was the pole sitter. And then the handling has just gone away. Now the goal just to try to soldier on and try to get a top 10 finish. The car extremely tight in the center of the corner.
Boy, this battle right here, ever since they left pit road, Jimmy Johnson in that 48, Kyle Busch in the 18, they are going at it. This is a battle for second, about 8 seconds behind Carl Edwards. They just keep racing side by side.
And Jimmy uses that lapped car as a pick, and they whoosh by. Who's that? Regan Smith.
Regan Smith.
Wow.
What in the world just happened to me?
Where did they come from?
I got hung in a Texas tornado.
Now we got a race on our hands.
He needed his rearview mirror, his side mirror, and his turn signal on that one.
Well, these guys know that they're not going to catch Carl Edwards unless they have a problem. This is what Darrell was talking about over in turn 2.
Look at this. Excuse me. Oh,
coming through.
Where are you coming from? All these? How many cars are out here anyway?
It held up Busch just long enough that Jimmy was able to clear him by using that lapped car as a pick.
That's great.
But with these guys being 8 seconds behind Carl Edwards, should Carl Edwards have a problem, these guys are racing for the win right there.
Regan Smith pits for a change of tires and some more gas.
I believe it was time.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing is sponsored by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We'll pick you up. By Gillette, feel phenomenal with Gillette Fusion Power Phenom, the only razor used by the Gillette Young Guns. By Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh. And by Q from Quaker State, unleash all your horses.
If Jimmy Johnson keeps running 0.2 of a second faster than the 99 of Carl Edwards, he would catch the leader with 10 laps to go. But traffic and other things will certainly play a factor. Today's Allstate Good Hands driver is Jimmy Johnson. Saw the 0-1 ahead, found a chance to use Regan Smith as a pick to forestall the advances of Kyle Busch, and Jimmy scooted around, cleared Busch, got second place. Allstate, are you in good hands?
He just kissed that right rear up against the wall.
We've been under green for a while. You saw Carl Edwards just put that 12 car of Ryan Newman a lap down. That leaves 10 cars on the lead lap right now. Mark Martin in the 8 car is in 10th. The last car on the lead lap.
Jimmy just kind of nudges his car through the corner. He gives a little nudge, a little nudge, a little nudge. So watch him work on the steering wheel.
Debris back straightaway is going to put us under caution with just 10 cars on the lead lap. And
not exactly what Carl Edwards wanted to see, but it's what everyone else wanted to see, because this will bunch everyone up. They'll come to pit road. They'll get 4 tires, final adjustments, and I'm pretty sure Ryan Newman in the 12 will get the free pass. He just had win a lap down.
Correct. So 40 laps to go, and still a full house on hand, as you see from our DirecTV aerial coverage. DirecTV, your ticket for the most sports in high definition.
Oh, these race fans know it ain't over till it's over. This is NASCAR, baby. Now, last night you could have watched that Kansas-North Carolina game, and you could have said it was over in the first half.
Or about in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, but
wow.
In a NASCAR race, no way.
You know, I'll tell you, after seeing Kansas blow out North Carolina, I'm even prouder of Davidson, the way they hung with Kansas right to the final buzzer.
Yeah, you're right.
In the Elite Eight.
One thing we do need to point out about this final pit stop, and one reason I bring this up, while we were away, Casey Kane in the 9 car had to come back to pit road because of a loose wheel. Those pit crew, they have to be solid this time. They've got to be on the mark. You've got to be efficient, but you've got to be effective.
You saw the decal on the front of the pace car, Help Chevy, Help Autism. If you go to autismspeaks.org and click on the Help Chevy link, if you watch the video, Chevy will make a donation to the organization. Every time that video is seen, there's the details. Who's coming? Cousin Carl and all the lead lap drivers. Steve.
When that caution came out, Mike, Kyle Busch said, oh, thank you. This race car is on the razor's edge. 4 tires for Kyle Busch. They'll also make a chassis adjustment, and they're adding air to the front tires, Krista.
Clint Boyer needed this caution. That's because his car got very loose after 2 straight stops without adjustments. They need to tighten it up. A slight air pressure adjustment. Dick?
Robbie Reiser first told Carl Edwards that they were going to stay out, and Carl said, are you kidding me? And so they came in. Matty.
Jimmy Johnson stopped a little long in his box. His crew members had to pick up a step or 2. Solid stop so far for the 48 guys.
And you know who else is this plays in the hands of? All the drivers. We've been on the green a long time. A little break right now will help.
Real quickly, you see Kevin Mannion, Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car. All of those 10 cars changed 4 tires, except the 1 car after just 10 laps on their tires, they went with 2 rights.
So 38 laps to go. Our 5th caution, the Texas record for fewest cautions, 6, by the way. Quick recap, Jeff Gordon, who felt that the setup on his car wasn't right, was trying to work his way out of it into the wall on lap 109, later attempted to come back, but will finish 43rd for only the 2nd time in his career. Another spin, this is J.J. Yaley, after what happened in qualifying Friday to Michael McDowell. You hold your breath here, but J.J. Yaley was okay. Meanwhile, Matt Kenseth leading 68 laps led today. Former winner here at Texas on a restart. Down a lap, Juan Pablo Montoya in his way, shuffles him back, and he never got back to the front. Carl Edwards did on lap 233, taking the lead for the 2nd time. He has led the most laps today and has the lead now with just 38 laps to go. Jeff Hammond, your thoughts on those recent pit stops, including the 99?
I want you to watch this right here. Larry McReynolds talked about it. Darrell can't make a mistake, loose lug nuts. Watch the left front when he gets around. They are slow. They have a problem over here. This is the benefit of the lead that he built up. He had just enough time to be able to get out in front of the 18 car with Kyle Busch. But that miscue could have put him back in the pack. If it had been a little bit tighter, you see Kyle Busch coming in there. But that's the kind of thing we're talking about. When it comes down to crunch time, you can't make mistakes. And those guys right there, they dodged a bullet. And hopefully that left front is tight enough.
Hope you're enjoying the race with Tex and myself, wherever you're watching. But look, Larry McReynolds made the point. Remember in Atlanta, similar racetrack, 52 laps to go. Carl Edwards had everything in control. Engine car smoking, wasn't able to hang on. This is, again, 500-mile race. What are your thoughts here?
Well, right now, my thoughts really kind of boil down to a situation. Who's got what left? We know that Kyle Busch right now, he is basically showing his fangs to Carl Edwards. I'm sure he'll run back there in 2nd position knowing I'm coming after you. Carl's going to know that. These 2 guys are going to really start to mix it up. And the cat that may wind up being the best position may wind up being Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, because Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, they have dominated along with Carl Edwards, and certainly they are on his heels in the remaining laps here. If you want an exclusive look inside the world of Richard Childress Racing, Jeff Burton at 31 Chevrolet, thanks to AT&T, you certainly can get that advantage using cellular video on your AT&T handset. You can access all the inside RCR content. So it's Edwards, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex Jr. making up a lot of ground those recent pit stops. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Next week we'll be in Phoenix, under the lights in prime time. NASCAR on Fox follows Major League Baseball on Fox for the duel in the desert.
Let's go racing in the desert.
Here they come and there they go. He is the money man. There's a storm brewing, boys. I hear thunder.
Wow, what a move.
Digger. Duck.
Got a car around. This is great, isn't it?
Saturday night shootout. Let's update a couple of cars who've had trouble today. David Rudiman overheating in the garage. J.J. Yaley crashed. Jeff Gordon handling problems in the garage. And we had reported Greg Biffle with engine-related problems out. He did continue 4 laps down for quite a while, but now he's gone to the garage as well.
And Larry, when I think about Atlanta, a very similar racetrack and a very similar race that we've seen so far today, who was the beneficiary of Carl Edwards' bad luck there?
The cat running second.
Cat running second. So I'm thinking Carl's thinking that. I'm thinking Kyle's thinking that.
With that same car he won Atlanta with, I might add.
Yeah.
35 laps to go when they take the green flag. Edwards, Busch, Johnson, they've pretty much been the top 3 all day. Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer, Kenseth, Burton, Stewart, and Martin, the top 10.
Now keep a close watch on that one car. Everyone out there, they have 4 fresh tires. Martin Truex Jr., just 2 right side tires.
Boy, I tell you, Kyle is all over the back of that 99, but Carl's able to get a little distance between the 2 of them off of 2 right there.
But they've not been able to clear the lap car of Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch in the 2 car trying to get one of those laps back.
Well, yeah, he's going to be right in the way. Of course, Carl gets on him and shoves him up out of the way.
Boy, Edwards just knifed to the bottom.
Boy,
and the car
he did.
stuck.
That car just stuck so nice. That thing is sweet on the bottom, baby.
Yeah, Kurt Busch is 2 laps down now. Kevin Harvick in the 29. He's the guy up there fighting to be the first car 1 lap down to get the free pass.
A little busy right there amongst those first 3 or 4 guys. 2 lap cars, and here comes a 48
through the middle,
squeezing in there.
Thread the needle, Jimmy Johnson.
That's next week, the squeeze play.
Move, nice move, all clear there.
Y'all see. Get an attaboy.
Chad Canals, crew chief for Jimmy Johnson. While those guys were doing a squeeze play in 2 laps, Carl Edwards went to a 3/4 of a second lead in front of this group right here. There goes Johnson fighting back at the end of the backstretch.
Yeah, we got up high. He got a great run off of turn 2. A lot of momentum going down through there. I tell you, Jimmy Johnson is coming.
Boy,
he's looking for the leader.
That car so picks up right in the middle of the corner, Darrell.
Well, the laps are running out. The laps are running out, and when Jimmy Johnson gets this close to the leader, he's going to go up there and mess with him anyway. Look at this.
Look how close this was. Watch that 48 just fire it right in there.
Boy, that's confidence right there. That tells you that car is handling pretty daggone good right now.
From the DirecTV aerial coverage.
And Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson that last time by 30.319, 30.318. 1/1000th different in their lap time.
With 32 laps to go now, 31 to go.
Let's see what it is this time by.
They're within 1/100th of each other.
Jimmy Johnson is a little bit quicker.
Your first 3 flashed by, and then Kevin Harvick, who is a lap down, but in 12th place.
But you know, you have got to give the Roush Fenway 99 car so much credit. All the controversy after winning at a 1.5-mile racetrack at Las Vegas. They came back the next week after the penalty of 100 points, the $100,000, the crew chief suspended for 6 races, and they were going to win Atlanta. And we know the oil tank lid was in place at Atlanta. And here again, another 1.5-mile racetrack. Here they are leading this race with 30 laps to go.
Yeah, that oil tank thing, that was pretty much over-exaggerated if you ask me, but nonetheless it was what it was. But this cat's got the car going, but the 48 car is coming. Tell you, watch these lap times, and that's how you know who's got what. Right now, ooh, that time about a trade-off really.
For a long time, Mark Martin has been acknowledged as having the best fitness regimen of any driver in NASCAR. Put Carl Edwards right up next to Mark on that list. Now, Carl may not be up every morning at 5 a.m. and headed for the gym, but he has a very rigorous and religious workout routine that includes that mountain bike that they all tie wrapped and duct taped to the fence yesterday.
Well, Carl's what, 28 years old, and Mark's 48 years old, so he doesn't have to get up at 6 in the morning.
And there's Mark in the number 8 behind Jeff Burton's 31. And the 20 of Tony Stewart.
You know, Mark's doing something. He's trying a little something different today in that 8 car. They're using a setup at Amarillo. Used a couple of weeks driving that 8 car. Wasn't so good. Tony Gibson said, Mark, you got to try this. Mark's trying the coil bind setup today, and it's working pretty good.
Mark Martin in the top 10, 10th place. Ryan Newman is 11th. Now here's the 4th place battle. Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, they're about 4.5 seconds off the lead.
And again, this is about 10 lap fresher left side tires on the 11 car. I think the move that Kevin Mannion made, he knew it was not going to be a race winning move, but maybe buy him a better finish than if he'd have just followed the leader come to pit road to get 4 tires like everyone else.
That's one of those things I always felt like you voted on it. The crew voted, you know, where you think 2 tires, the driver would vote where you think 2 tires, and see what the vote came out.
Well, Mike talked to me at the top of the show. You go back to yesterday's Nationwide Series race. Everyone,
buddy. 25 to go.
Thought the top 3 cars made a mistake by staying out. 2 of those 3 cars finished first and second, Kyle Busch and Jeff Burton.
So not a bad call. Matt?
Mike, this is going to be a great stretch coming up for the one of Martin Truex Jr. You look at Texas, this is the kind of run he needed. A good top 5 finish, more top 10s here than any other racetrack on the certain for him. But over the past 3 races, he's dropped from 8th to 13th in the points. This is the type of boost that Martin and Kevin Bono Mannion really needed to try to get this team back top 12 in the standings.
Well, he was 8th when he pitted, and now he's still in the top 5. So far, good move.
That's just about the right amount of laps to make it work. Don't lose a spot here. I wouldn't want to have to go much further than 25 laps on 2 tires, 30 laps.
So Matt Kenseth Motors passed into 5th place.
And right now he has about a 2.5 to 3 second lead over Clint Boyer in the 07 car that's back in 7th.
24 laps to go in Texas. Carl Edwards hanging on to a 1.7 second lead over Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Matt Kenseth.
You're not going to believe the way this one ends. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
Two laps to race in Texas. There's Carl Edwards. There's the 2nd place car of Jimmy Johnson. And that green machine right there. 3rd place, Kyle Busch fading back just a bit here.
Yeah, every time I think Jimmy might be closing up on Carl a little bit, Carl will pull a little something out of the hat. So I think he's sitting on a pretty good car right there.
And Martin Truex has fallen back, not because of the 2 tires, but because they believe they've broken a valve spring in the engine and are just going to try to ride it out and hang on to a lead lap finish, which will be 11th or better.
I think I'm seeing some smoke inside that race car.
Keep it in there, but easy on it.
Yeah, you can't be. It's kind of hard to be easy on it.
Yeah, right now our leaders are running 31.60s and 70s. This has slowed Martin Truex Jr. down to a mid-32s. That last lap was 32.38.
Well, what'll happen though with that broken valve spring, it's just a matter of time till it drops a valve and she'll go up in smoke. It'd be hard to make it 25 more laps.
And
I don't know, it don't run terrible, it just don't run great, you know.
And you see
the differential in here, it's weird.
To the leader right there, and that's continuing to grow. But if he can hang on to the lead lap and finish this race, he'll be in the top 11.
Yeah, he might want to lift that shield up and take a look at what's going on around him, because it's getting smoky in there.
Oh, smoke get in your eyes?
Yeah.
And as we've made note, he came in here 13th in the points, and you can see the RPM. We've talked about these cars turning 93, 9,400 RPMs. He's not even getting into the 9,000 range.
And I'm praying she makes it.
And that's all you can do. Only 8,200 at the end of the backstretch that time.
That's a shame. Had a great run, a pretty good strategy here with the 2 tires, and then the engine let you down.
I don't know. It's not getting better. It's getting worse.
Well, it ain't going to get any better. I can promise you that.
No. 18 laps to go. Oh, it'll stop smoking eventually.
Yeah, that's right.
Then it go boom. Carl Edwards still 1.7 ahead of Jimmy Johnson. We talked earlier in the day after Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the pole where this might be where the Hendrick team broke through to victory lane. You know, the last time that only one Hendrick car finished on the lead lap of the Sprint Cup race, you have to go way back to Dover in September of 2006. But that is the case here with only Jimmy Johnson on the lead lap among those Hendrick Chevys.
Boy, I've been watching Jimmy, though, and Larry, he is trying everything. He was running the bottom. Now he's moved up to the top. Here he is coming off of turn 2, and this thing snaps around with him and gets a little wall. He's giving it all he's got. That's all I can say.
The dreaded turn 2. There's not enough racetrack over there.
It's just a bad transition from the turn and onto the straightaway. Just wants to dunk you.
16 laps to go. Whoa. You hear it? You can almost feel it.
So loose. The RPM's coming up. The rear wheels are almost coming up off the ground.
Back wheels are coming off the ground. Got more horsepower and he's got traction. Let's see how he looks in here. Pretty smooth right here, getting down into turn 1. Turns it in. Got to cut. Anytime you see that hand go back to the right a little bit, that's not a good thing.
There is the interval, and it keeps coming down slowly, but it is shortening.
Yeah. Those little tweaks on the steering wheel, those are not good things, because you want to do race like he's got it right there. Hold it nice and steady all the way through the corner. You don't want to have to cut back to the right suddenly. Let's see how Carl looks in his car. See how comfortable he is.
Well, with 14 laps to go, Carl has actually started encountering some lap cars, so that's been slowing him down just a little bit.
Now let's see how Carl's over dirt track racing. He likes to jack on that wheel.
4 of Carl Edwards' 9 Cup wins have come on these mile-and-a-half tracks. 2 at Atlanta, 1 in Texas, and Las Vegas this spring. Krista, Tony Stewart in 7th place, 15 seconds off the lead. What's the story there?
Well, Mike, he was gaining ground, and I used past tense. He had moved his way, like you said, up into the top 10, running 7th. He just got on the radio 1 lap ago and said, quote, "It's blowing up." He hasn't said a word since then.
Just look in this last 100 miles of the cars that have had problems. We've talked about Greg Biffle, who's still out there somewhat limping around. We've talked about Martin Truex Jr., and now here's Tony Stewart. Darrell has emphasized it since the drop of the green flag, how hard this place can be on engines.
Well, and not just remember this. These engines have not only run 500 miles in a race today, they've practiced 3 practice sessions and qualified with this same engine.
And we've only had 5 cautions to give them a little bit of a rest today.
Not much breathing going on today. All heavy breathing today.
All of Gibbs Toyotas in the top 6.
Yeah, I think, you know, when we talk about Gibbs's cars, and right there's Kyle Busch, and right behind him his teammate Denny Hamlin, and Hamlin has kind of snuck into the picture here in the last 25-30 laps.
They are 7 and 8 seconds off the lead right now, which remains constant. Carl Edwards still 1.7 seconds ahead of Jimmy Johnson.
You know, as we're coming around to 10 laps to go, and I know we only have 11 cars on the lead lap, I do want to give another shout out to some cars that needed a good run today, and they're hanging in there even though they're a lap down. You look at Jamie McMurray, who was out of the top 35 going into Martinsville. Good run last week at Martinsville, top 15 run going here today. He continues to build that momentum back into the top 35. And I can't say enough about David Gilliland in the 38 car. Doug Yates Racing, unsponsored race car, qualified 41st, and he's up there running in 15th. There you see the 28 car. That's actually Travis Quapple there, but his teammate David Gilliland, the 38 car, the 2 cars look exactly alike almost.
And we've talked about the maturity of the young kid in the 6 car. David Reagan, he's done a good job today. Got another top 20 finish here, running 16th. That's a good job by him.
And let's give a shout to Travis Quapple, David Gilliland's teammate, because he's sitting there 1 lap down in 18th position, the other unsponsored Doug Yates car.
Brian Vickers, Paul Menard, Casey Mears also in the top 20 as the laps wind down in Texas. Just 9 to go. And Jimmy Johnson is unable to gain any ground on Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards is unable to extend his lead.
I thought maybe when the Carl got into some of this heavy traffic, it would slow him down, but it's slowing Jimmy down just as much. So there's no trade there. There's no gain there.
Lap cars high and low. Jimmy's got 1 inside, 1 outside as Carl moves past Casey Kane.
Jimmy Johnson has quite a cushion out the rearview mirror back to Kyle Busch. Right now, Kyle is about 6 seconds in that 18 car behind Jimmy Johnson. We'll be coming to 7 laps to go.
Well, that pack of traffic did help Johnson. He knocked 3/10 off of Edwards' lead.
But now Carl is clear of the traffic. I think that he'll continue to extend that lead, Mike. He's in open track now with not really anybody in his way.
You know, hard to believe, Darrell, the largest margin of victory we've had all season was the Atlanta race, which was won by 2 seconds. And this one's going to fall inside of that mark as well, the way we're going, with 7 to go.
I think that would have been, Carl would have probably extended that one out there pretty far if he hadn't had trouble at Atlanta. They have definitely got this thing figured out right now. They are the team to beat on these big racetracks. The car just, look at the car, right on the white line all day long. And he's not just cruising. I mean, he's still going hard, because he does look back and see that Lowe's car every now and then.
When he told you in pre-race, when we talked to him on the pace lap, he says, hey, Darrell, call me up. Talk to me anytime during this race. I mean, there was just, his voice just oozed confidence. And Jack Roush, his car owner, told me last weekend, he said, I just want to get through Martinsville with all these cars intact, but I can't wait till we get to Texas. That's our house.
Well, he's proven that to be a fact. They have won so many races here with 5 different drivers.
As we talked at the top of the show, 14 races coming into today, 13 different winners. Now, Carl Edwards is one of those winners with only 1 win, trying to become the only other repeat winner of this race, along with Jeff Burton.
Yellow's out.
Turn 1, car 1. Martin Truex engine finally let go. A lot of smoke, maybe some fluid coming past start finish.
Trying to get down behind the 6 right here. Clear.
You remember what I told you on our own camera at the top of the show? I was glad I was at the hotel yesterday. I'm glad I'm up in the booth today making this call.
Same situation as yesterday's nationwide race. Handful of laps to go for the lead cars. And there are now just 11 of them on the lead lap. And Kevin Harvick won't get a free pass because we're inside 10 laps to go. So 11 lead lap cars, Larry. Do you stay or do you go get tires?
The problem is we have about 30 laps on these tires, and it's going to be a very short run. And I think it's exactly what we saw at Bristol. I think for Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, maybe even Denny Hamlin, Darrell, you know what? There's no right or wrong decision, but I think you've got to stay out. When you look back there at Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton, Ryan Newman, those guys, it's a no-brainer. Come get your tires.
I'm licking my chops if I'm back here about Matt Kenseth, 5th on back, because I'm going to get me 4 tires, and I might be able to do something.
Jeff, what do you want to do if you're up front?
I'm like my constituent, Mr. Larry McReynolds. If I'm Carl Edwards, I'm staying out. I'm going to protect that position and hope and pray that enough guys stay out behind me. I get a little bit of cushion. Then I'm going to get up here and I'm going to drive it for everything she's worth.
Who will stay and who will go? The top 3 stay out. The top 4.
Come on, somebody.
Tony Stewart, and everyone behind him will follow him.
Well, Matt Kenseth was a 5th place car, and I would have come if I'd have been
2 pots, 2.
6th on back. Some will get 2, some will get 4. Mark Martin is in. And here's Krista.
It's going to be right sides only for Tony Stewart. Yes, he wanted to come in. He wanted some fresh rubber, but he does not want to give up track position. Oh, slow stop. There goes Tony Stewart off pit road.
Mark Martin got 4. Clint Boyer got right sides only. 4 for Jeff Burton. Right sides for Ryan Newman. And here they come.
And the guy that's really going to not like what went on here, Darrell mentioned him, and I'm like Darrell. I just feel like that Chip Boland should have brought Matt Kenseth in. He's a lonely man. Remember, it will be a down finger restart, single file restart. You won't have any lap down cars to deal with, only the lead lap cars to the front of the pack.
We said there were 11 of them. One of those was Martin Truex, whose car is now blown up, parked on pit road, and I believe done for the day. So that'll leave us 10 lead lap cars, 5 on old tires, 5 on new tires.
Like I said, if I was back there, if I'd have been Matt Kenseth and I got me some tires, I'd be licking my chops. But there's enough cushion now that I'm not sure that those tires are going to really make that much difference as far as who's going to win this race.
Well, we try not to overload this show with Texas analogies, but we said at the top of the day, gunfight at the OK Corral. I guess that's what we got here. We got you know, Wyatt and his boys with new tires, and then you got the Clantons or whatever.
Yeah, well, they got
no tires.
we got a shootout going on here. Some guys have got bullets and some guys don't. That's the difference. But you know, I'd love to call Carl, but as a driver, he told me to call him if I wanted to. But as a driver, I really don't want to bother him right now. He's got a lot to focus on. I don't want to call him up and ask him some silly question.
And only a couple of laps to do.
And he's got to go. You know, he's focusing.
And the thing about it, I think Carl Edwards, he has enough friends behind him that's on the same schedule of tires. But the thing, we've seen it here at Texas before, when you've got 30-something laps on your tires, that crew chief has to stay on that driver, keep those tires cleaned off. Don't spin them on a restart. We have seen that so many times at this type of racetrack with this tire.
Now, don't you always get on the last car to stay out? Because however many cars come in and get tires, it's always the last guy that stay out. Oh, you should have come with everybody. You know?
Yeah.
So sorry, Chip Bolin, because your car was the last one. But
as good as that 99's been, though, and the way he's hooking the bottom right now, I think he's okay. He's better than the 48 car, and that's really, I think, all he's got to worry about.
Yep, exactly.
Jeff, Chris, what do you think? Who wins this? New tires or track position?
Well, that's a good question. I just wondered if Matt Kenseth being a teammate, do you agree that at the cutoff that he probably, since that's where the line was drawn,
he should have come down pit road? Because, Chris, the thing that kind of bothered me about Matt and his situation, remember, he had one of the fastest race cars early part of this race. A little bit of adjustment, 4 tires. I mean, as good as that pit crew is, 4 tires could have made a huge difference. He may have made the outside work and made a run on these guys.
I realize there are a lot of factors, but as Mike asked, is it about the tires or the track position?
Well, his track position right there was so close right now. I think that still would have made a big difference. I think he's going to wind up being a sitting duck that way it is right now.
Well, Jeff, one thing's working in his favor, and that is that when Martin Truex's car blew up down into turn 1, it dropped enough fluid on the racetrack that they put down a lot of speedy dry. And now the jet dryers are out there, and we're coming to 2 to go next time by. So this will be just a 2-lap race, and that will work in the favor of the drivers who did not get tires.
Well, I mean, you know, fuel is an issue to some degree. And I say that because I noticed, see Jimmy Johnson down on the apron. Now these cars, some of these cars that we saw with Denny Hamlin at Bristol, I know we've seen on a few occasions, it's hard sometimes to pick all that fuel up out of these fuel cells when you ride around here in a caution like this. So I think fuel is a little bit of an issue.
And Jeff Burton back there in that 31 car is just beating on the steering wheel because he has 4 Mr. Feel Goods, 4 fresh tires. I'm just not sure he's going to have near enough laps to take advantage of it.
And now with the stay dry, you'd want to, if they drop the green flag, you got 4 tires, you're going to have to go to the outside. And you're going to have your outside line taken away from you here going into turn 1. And you've only got 2 laps to get it done.
Dick Bergman.
Well, Darrell, they just pushed the number 1 Truex car right by me, and there is a pretty good-sized trail of oil here. So the cars are going to be on the racetrack for a little while before they clean this up. And Carl Edwards' crew has been urging him to do what Jimmy Johnson has been doing. Stay down low. Don't get that car up on the bank. Make sure that the fuel pickup gets all the fuel it possibly can. Don't starve it. Krista.
Is there enough Sunoco for the 48? Well, that is the question. They know it's going to be close. They think they'll be okay. In fact, when they thought about coming in, whether to pit or not, it was all about tires. They never mentioned the fuel.
It's going to be a couple more laps because the jet dryers are still working turns 1 and 2, and there's still a little bit of speedy dry up there. And there's the trophy, the very unique Texas Boot Trophy that awaits the winner.
If you remember, think back, Robbie Reiser told Carl Edwards, we're okay on fuel, but save me a little bit. And remember I told you, thinking about maybe possibly a green-white checkered, he wanted a little insurance in the tank. Hopefully he did that.
And just remember, even though Carl Edwards was not going to win the race at Martinsville, he ran out of fuel at Martinsville coming off the last corner and cost himself 4 or 5 positions.
Still a big crowd on hand. Look at that packed grandstand here at Texas Motor Speedway from our aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. NASCAR Hot Pass is only on DirecTV. NASCAR Hot Pass puts you behind the wheel. It'll be 2 laps to go when they get the green flag here in Texas. This week, Fox Saturday Baseball returns. The Yankees come to Fenway to take on the Red Sox. Or the defending National League champion Rockies battle the Diamondbacks. Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week returns 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time in high definition only on Fox, and NASCAR on Fox from Phoenix to follow.
And weren't we talking about some time ago when Carl was kind of running away with it, nobody had left? Well, guess what? This is the reason why.
That's right. Exactly right.
You never leave a NASCAR race till the checkered flag falls.
And you might want to even wait till they do a cool-down lap.
Yeah, that too.
Or a backflip.
Hey,
you never know.
Nobody has thrown a helmet today either, and that's unfortunate because Eddie was going to give somebody $15,000 to anybody that threw their helmet at somebody today.
Eddie Gossage, president of Speedway.
But as they always say, as Curly said, they ain't over with yet.
No. Carl Edwards' biggest fan.
Mama Edwards.
Nancy. And let's get down to Kyle Busch's pit. Steve.
Mike, talking to Steve Addington, and Steve, this morning you said that the 99 car was going to be the one you're going to be chasing, and speaking of chasing, you guys have really been fighting this racetrack. It's been a moving target.
Yeah, I think we made some adjustments to free the race car up this morning, and I think we might have went a little too far here. It's just been on edge. We can't get this Interstate Batteries Toyota Camry balance exactly where we need it, but we ran in the top 5 all day long, so that's a plus. 99, I think, has just been playing with us all day long, to be honest with you.
So you got nothing for him, you don't think?
Well, I mean, this will be the first time that we restarted on these old tires, so we'll see what happens when they get down here. I'm sure the 48's going to go for it. We might be in a good spot here.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
See if the lights come off the pace car. If they turn off those flashing wheel and strobes and safety lights, that means we're on 1 lap to go.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That's the signal to all the drivers and the crews. And there they go. And NASCAR on Fox.
Texas Hold'em.
Again, it will be a green, a white, and a checkered. And the way the rules are, it's 1 attempt at it. You only get 1 attempt at a green-white checker.
Yeah, if anything happens in that process, in those 2 laps, it's over.
And then if anything happens beyond the white flag, it's pretty much over.
It's over, yeah.
So we're going into overdrive in the Samsung 500. Green-white checker to settle this one out. Carl Edwards has been the class of the field all day. He's led 120 laps. That's nearly twice as many laps as anybody else.
One thing that really bothers me about that 48 car, and you see him cleaning them up, when you ride around on the apron like he was,
Light them up, bud. Coming to green this time.
They pick up a lot of debris and trash, so he better not spin those babies, or at 18 will be all over him.
Now the good thing for these leaders, it's a single file restart. All of the lap down cars.
Remember, he has not been very good on restarts.
That's Chad Knaus telling Jimmy Johnson about Carl. And everybody from 11th on back is behind the lead lap cars.
And just to set the stage, the 99, the 48, the 18, the 11, the 17, they have 30 laps on their tires. The 07, the 12, the 20, and the 8, 2 fresh right side tires. Jeff Burton in the 31 and 10th, 4 fresh tires.
I'm just really worried about that 48 being down there on the apron so much. He has got to be really wondering if he's going to have enough fuel.
And that's the reason he's down there.
Yeah.
Well, here we go, boys.
He wants to get a shot there.
Tighten your belts.
One more time.
Don't spin the tires. Yikes. Carl left the outside open, I'll have to say that.
Here comes Clint Boyer with those 2 fresh tires. He's going for 3rd, going down into turn 1, side by side.
Almost 4 wide, back where Newman and Kenseth battle.
Well, Kansas is in trouble. We see that.
Here comes
smoke.
Here comes Clint Boyer again with those 2 fresh tires going out into 3. We'll be coming to the white flag. He's side by side with Kyle Busch.
That's 3 wide again.
That's
Will
exciting.
they make it?
That's exciting for 3rd, but ain't much happening up here in the front.
This time, 4 back.
Carl Edwards running away. The battle is back at 6th place.
Yeah, those guys that got tires are fighting with each other big time.
Yes, they are.
Newman, Kenseth, Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton on the outside, and Denny Hamlin. That's a hornet's nest.
Coming to the checkered flag.
Matt Kenseth's a big old sandwich.
Carl Edwards off turn 4. Will win the Samsung 500.
Oh, we got Clint Boyer sideways.
Denny Hamlin and Boyer got together, with Boyer ending up in the wall, but coming across the line in 4th.
Yeah, Hamlin got into Boyer, and I don't know how Clint kept from wrecking that thing. Or he did hit the wall, but he didn't wreck anybody else.
Yeah, that's unofficial. I think he actually came across Clint Boyer the last car on the lead lap because Kenseth beat him back to the line. We'll have to see. That's unofficial right now.
Great job. This is for Bob Osborne sitting at home, guys. This is for Bob. Good job, guys. Woo!
Hey, Carl, it's DW. You were right, buddy. You had the car.
Man, I didn't know about that last restart, DW. I was pedaling for all it's worth. I left some black marks. Man, this is great. This is for Bob Osborne sitting at home, man. This is awesome.
We'll pass that along, and he heard you. Good job, buddy.
Bob Osborne under suspension by NASCAR for the Las Vegas incident, and the Cat in the Hat will go to victory lane at his house. But first, for the second time at Texas Motor Speedway, you saw earlier the one that he did in the evening of 2005. Carl Edwards will get to do his signature move, the backflip off the door of that car.
But he's gotten a lot smarter, or else somebody wised him up, because he's always over next to the grass now. He quit doing it up on the racetrack. I'm sure Jack said, you know, you might want to try that out in the grass.
Ah, yeah, stuck the landing.
Nothing to it.
All day, the man to beat. Carl Edwards dominates in Texas.
Mike, all weekend, the man to beat, honestly.
And Larry, I look back there, and there's the oil tank lid, and it is on.
All right, let's watch this run to the line.
Oh, this gets exciting.
Behind Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, and Kyle Busch, and Ryan Newman is back there in the midst of it.
You see the 07, he's going to try to slide up in front of Denny Hamlin, and doesn't quite have enough room. I think both guys did a whale of a job. It cost 07 quite a couple, 3 spots there, but they didn't wreck everybody anyway.
And that's how the race changed in an instant. With NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, follow the race instantly. That backflip becomes today's Sprint Mobile monster moment, as Carl Edwards thoroughly dominated the weekend here in Texas. Wow, well, that was a finish.
That's the way you wanted it, a Texas shootout.
More NASCAR on Fox after this. Carl Edwards gets his second Texas victory, his third of the season, and the 6th Texas win for car owner Jack Roush. Let's go to Matt Yoakum in victory lane.
Third win this season, and another pair of Beretta 6-shooters for your trophy case. First off, you pulled in, you said, just to let you know, the oil tank's on. What kind of statement does this win send to everyone over what you guys have gone through this year?
Well, the reason we won it at Vegas is because all the hard work of the guys at the shop and the engine department. It's not because of that oil tank lid. So I appreciate my fans and everybody sticking behind me. It means the world to come out here and win this thing. I know Bob's watching at home. I'm going to give him those Berettas, man. I wanted that shotgun really bad on Friday, but this is great. Hopefully we can come back here in November and sweep this thing.
Slipping and sliding, it was fun.
That's what it's about. I mean, we're driving, and it's fun. You know, it's fun when you get out of the car and your hands hurt from gripping the steering wheel. That's good. So just really happy for all the fans that came out today. It's cool to see a full grandstand, and really proud of Aflac. They take care of you when you're working this hard and when you're not working, so it's a good sponsor.
Eddie Gossage, the track president, walked up, Chris, and he says, whatever you do not repave this place. That is a racetrack, my friend.
Well, Matt, the stockyards are close by. Jimmy Johnson was trying to lasso in the 99. Was it a case of just not enough rope there at the end?
I don't know. He was better than us, I think, at the end there. I'm just very proud of the gap that we closed over the off weekend. It's so tough. I mean, you saw what happened with the 24. You can be just on that edge and have a terrible car and can't drive it. So, but today was a great day. I mean, I had a great handling car, and I can't believe how bad these things drove. It's my first time to have a competitive car in a big track, and now I see what Stewart and everybody has been so upset about. These things are kind of disappointing to drive out in traffic. You catch the guy in front of you, and you're just kind of stuck there. So. But great effort. I didn't have anything for Carl at the end, and a great step forward for the Slows and Paula.
A handful to drive. On that note, Mike, I think he'll take the second place and run.
Absolutely. His teammate Jeff Gordon wound up 43rd, as we'll scroll you through the results. A wild finish in Texas, but Carl Edwards just dominated the day.
It's just amazing how you can run 500 miles, 4.5 hours, and come down to an exciting finish every time we come here.
You know, I think a couple of things was pretty predictable today, how good the 99 was going to be who won this race, and how about Jeff Gordon, how bad he was, finishes dead last for only his second time in his career. You got to give a call to Roy McCauley with Ryan Newman, the 12 car. They benefited by putting those two right right side tire zone. They come home with their first top 5, I think, since winning the Daytona 500. Ended up 4th today.
Yeah, they were 10th on the caution, Dick Berggren, but Ryan Newman powered around everybody to 4th place at the finish.
He did a good job. His crew did a good job as well, Ryan, but you look drained. How physically demanding was it out there today?
I was just sitting here thinking about it when we were talking about how tired everybody looks. We might need to go back to running convertibles just so we can get some more air to the drivers, but it was tough out there. I mean, it's a handful. It's definitely more back in the driver's hands, but you still have to have a really good car to run up front. We had a good car at the end. We kind of lucked into a 4th place finish, but I felt like we had a car that was capable of running in the top 5. But the 2 tire stop and Roy McCauley and his strategy paid off good for the Altel Samsung Dodge.
And the driver did well too. Chris?
Thanks very much, Dick Berggren. So Jeff Burton hangs on as the points leader. Jimmy Johnson moving up 4 slots. Carl Edwards with that win, moving up 4 spots. Back in the top 10. Remember, that's where he was before the penalty after he won earlier in the year. A 3-time winner this year after 7 races, and these are the point standings. Notice that Jeff Gordon, who had just made it into the top 10 out of this race, finishing 43rd in the race, and he is currently 14th. That's one side of it, Jeff Hammond, as we look at Eddie Gossage and today's winner.
Beautiful trophy right there.
Carl Edwards, I know you try to take those boots.
Yeah.
That cutoff line, trying to get into the race, what's guaranteed? 31 through 40 and 35 the point.
Once again, we saw some shuffling around. Jeremy Mayfield is outside. So is Dave Blaney. David Rubin got back up inside the top 35, had problems with the engine. Now he's back once again outside that top 35. This is where it's all about as we go into Phoenix next weekend. Sam Hornish, J.J. Yaley, as well as Regan Smith, they can kind of like breathe a sigh of relief.
Kyle Busch led 50 laps today, wound up 3rd. Our Steve Burns caught up with him after the race.
Kyle, you were at the front all day, but you guys were really chasing a moving target. It was loose and tight, but you guys hung in there.
Yeah, we did. I mean, Steve Addington and all these guys on this Interstate Batteries team did an awesome job, and the guys worked so hard on this thing to try to give me a good race car, and it's just hard to make one to drive right and make it comfortable, you know, and so just on edge all day long. You know, we had a razor blade there. We'd fall on one side or the other. We just couldn't ever get it right. And luckily there on that last restart, I could hold some of those guys off and come home 3rd where we deserved instead of falling back further. But got to thank Norm Miller and Interstate Batteries, Toyota, and everybody that helped support JGR.
Good points day for Kyle Busch.
All right, and maybe the V for victory for Jack Roush and Fenway Racing, and maybe for vindication, right? The oil tank cover, the sway bar incident. He's won 3 races this year.
Had them covered. Let's just put it that way. They had them covered for sure. I mean, they've been awesome everywhere they've come from as far as this year is concerned. I mean, the Roush Fenway cars are back on track. Jack Roush told me earlier this year, we've got it figured out, Hammond. And right now, as we see Carl Edwards, I mean, firing his 6 guns up there in victory lane, pretty much letting everybody know they're the real deal.
And worth mentioning, Michael McDowell, the 23-year-old rookie that most of America saw by now in qualifying on Friday, that wreck. He did race today, finished 33rd, uneventful, but another safe and comfortable ride. And again, victory for Roush Fenway. Coming up tonight on Fox, King of the Hill, American Dad, The Simpsons, more King of the Hill than Peter Griffin and Family Guy. We're speaking of Roush Fenway. You know, Fenway Park next Saturday on Fox. It'll be a baseball NASCAR doubleheader in the afternoon. Baseball at 3:30 Eastern, Yankees and Red Sox, and then we'll go racing at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. I want to thank you remind me of Champ Kind from Anchorman with that cowboy hat.
So does that make you Ron Burgundy?
Yes. Who put that on the teleprompter? For Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers. Don't forget there you go. Look at that hat. So you'd look comfortable if you're out at a cow pasture.
Ready to go. Well, I'm trying to herd some steers around here.
Thanks for watching NASCAR on Fox Saturday night. All right, that's the next time we'll be here. All right, have a great week. Thanks for watching. I figure we got all week to talk about race yet.
It's boots and chaps, it's cowboy hats, it's spurs and letting go. It's the ropes and the reins and the joy and the pain, and they call the thing a rodeo. It's the broncs and the blood, it's the steers and the mud, and they call the thing rodeo. Wow, wow.
Promotional considerations provided by